Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 1. Buddha's Necklace. By Samael Aun Weor. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 2. Chapter 1. The Infant Son. Beloved Gnostic brothers and sisters, tonight, as we celebrate, with immense joy, Christmas 1966, we need to study very deeply, and with a sense of urgency, the Christic mysteries. At dawn of the great cosmic day, the first Logos, the Father, said to the third Logos, the Holy Spirit, "Go, fertilize my wife, chaotic matter, the Great Mother, so that life will emerge. See what unfolds." When the Father had spoken, the third Logos bowed reverently. At that moment, creation dawned. The Cosmo-Creators, the army of builders of the Aurora, the host of Elohim, the third Logos, worked in the 7 temples of chaos. 3 forces are indispensable to all creation: the positive force, the negative force, and the neutral force. In front of the altar of the temple, one of the Elohim was polarized into masculine form, positive, and another one into feminine form, negative. The choir of the Elohim on the main floor of the temple represented the neutral force. In this way, the order of these 3 forces was established in each of the 7 temples of primitive chaos. Divine man sang, divine woman sang, the choir of the Elohim sang. The whole liturgy of the 7 temples was sung, and the great word fertilized the womb of the great divine Mother. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The Word fertilized the waters of life, and the germinating universe emerged, radiant in the aurora. The Holy Spirit fertilized the Great Mother, and the Christ was born. The second Logos is always the son of the Virgin Mother. She is always a virgin before, during, and after childbirth. She is Mary, Isis, Isaberta, Rhea, Cybels, etc. She is primitive chaos, primordial substance, the raw material of the great work. The cosmic Christ is the army of the great Word. He is always born in all the worlds and is crucified in each of them in order that all beings might have life and have it more abundantly. My brothers and sisters, observe the King of Stars in his elliptical orbit as he travels from south to north and back again. When he travels to the north, we celebrate the birth of the infant Son. He is born on December 24th at midnight in order to dawn on December 25th. If the Christ Son did not move northwards, the whole earth would become a huge piece of ice and all life would perish. The Sun God, however, does advance northwards on December 24th to animate and give heat and life to all creatures. The infant Son is born on December 24th in order to dawn on December 25th. He crucifies himself at the spring equinox to give life to all that exists. The fixed date of his birth and the variable date of his death have a profound significance in all religious theologies. In the northern regions of our world, in winter, there are long hours of darkness and few hours of light. On one of those very long nights, the child of the sun was born, frail and helpless, in this humble stable, our world. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 3. The sign of the Celestial Virgin rises on the horizon at Christmas, and it is then that the child is born to save the world. The Christ Son, in his childhood, is surrounded by dangers, and the kingdom of darkness lasts longer than his of light in the beginning. But he lives despite all the dangers that threaten him. Time passes, the days become cruelly longer, and the spring equinox arrives. This is Holy Week, the moment of crossing from one extreme to another, the moment of the Lord's crucifixion in this world. The Christ Son crucifies himself on planet Earth to give life to all that exists. After his death, he resurrects in all creation, ripening the grapes and the grain. The law of the logos is sacrifice. This is the cosmic drama that is repeated from moment to moment in all infinite space, in all worlds, in all suns. This is the cosmic drama that is represented in all the temples of Egypt, Greece, India, Mexico, etc. This is the cosmic drama that is represented in all the temples of all the worlds of infinite space. The secondary aspect of this great drama has its parallel in the life of any high initiate, who, by a revolution of consciousness, obtains the Gnostic initiation and becomes a solar hero. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 4. Chapter 2. The Milky Way. Christmas is a solar festival, an ineffable cosmic festival with its origin in the mysterious night of the centuries. The three-dimensional physical sun is only the medium through which the spiritual sun acts. The physical sun meets the mystical sun, the sun of midnight, the star of Bethlehem, the cosmic Christ. All ancient religions paid homage to the sun. Even the Vatican is constructed so that its doors open towards the east, towards the rising sun. The early Christians always repeated, with great devotion, our Lord Jesus Christ, the Sun. It is amazing how the Solar King travels among the innumerable stars of infinite space with a velocity of 20 kilometers per second in relation to its closest neighbors. In the center of the Milky Way, the Sun travels at the astonishing speed of 270 kilometers per second. By its motion, the Sun pulls the Earth and the whole solar system with it. The Earth on which we live, move, and have our being is more than just a mass of matter. It is, without doubt, a living organism, on whose epidermis we all live as simple parasites. In infinite space, Earth travels a path both complicated and difficult. Earth, dancing around the Sun to the music of the spheres, travels at a dizzying velocity as it revolves around the center of this awe-inspiring galaxy in which we live. The Milky Way is, in fact, so gigantic that the Sun, even though traveling at 270 kilometers per second, will take 220 million years to complete one revolution. The Milky Way is a living cosmic organism, a spiral body within which our solar system exists. All nebulae, including our Milky Way, have, as a matter of fact, the same fundamental design. There are three forces at work in all galaxies. The first is centripetal, the second is centrifugal, the third is neutral, serving as a point of support and equilibrium. The centrifugal force imparts movement in spiral form to a nebula in the same way that a whirlwind raises dust in a spiral manner. The Milky Way, with its 18 million suns and innumerable planets and moons, has its center of gravity in the central sun Sirius. Ancient esoteric traditions affirm that the Transcendental Church exists in the central sun Sirius. Inside the temple of Sirius, adepts have the pleasure of meeting the disciples of the god Sirius. When any adept tries to go beyond the Milky Way, he is always obliged to return to Sirius. Adepts of Earth are prohibited from going beyond Sirius. Astronomers know very well that, beyond the Milky Way, there are only 3 galaxies visible to the naked eye. 2 of these, the Large and Small Magellan Clouds, named in honor of the celebrated explorer, can be seen from the southern hemisphere. When the adepts of the Great White Lodge go beyond Sirius, they can see 2 world systems, which sparkle marvelously with a beautiful rose color. In those 2 galaxies, there exist other types of cosmic laws, unknown to the inhabitants of the Milky Way. There is a maxim in the sacred texts of occult wisdom, where the light shines clearest, there also the darkness is densest. In the superior worlds, adepts can usually verify that, together with a temple of light, there is a contrasting temple of frightening darkness. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 5. Based on this rule, we can be sure, without any fear of error, that the central sun, Sirius, is double. Its companion is a gigantic, tenebrous world. The cosmic forces which rule the superior dimensions come to Earth from Sirius, nicknamed the Dog Star by astronomers. However, from its tenebrous companion, nicknamed Pup, we receive the forces which govern the infernos. Our galaxy is gigantic, marvelous, and formidable. It is about 100,000 light-years in diameter and about 10,000 light-years thick. The sun which warms us and gives us life, our beloved sun, source of all life, is located approximately 30,000 light-years from the center, i.e. 2/3 of the distance from the center of the galaxy to the perimeter. It appears to be near the interior ring of a spiral arm, near a group of very weak and distant stars, and near another group, which is closer to the center. There exist millions of galaxies in infinite space, an estimated 2 billion in an area of 250 million light-years, an astonishing distance with no sign of an end. The situation of our solar system is, without any doubt or exaggeration, analogous to that of a blood cell within the human body. We can verify under a microscope that a white blood cell is also composed of a nucleus or sun and its cytoplasm or sphere of influence. It is also surrounded on all sides by millions of similar cells or systems. Together, all these cells form the whole, a great being, whose nature is surely inconceivable to an individual cell. The Milky Way is a living organism which was born of water and fire in the ninth sphere. Those who suppose that the galaxies, including the Milky Way, had their origin in an explosion of some primitive atom are mistaken. There is an esoteric maxim which says, as above, so below. If this small microcosmic galaxy called man had its origin in the ninth sphere, in sex, we can deduce logically, without fear of deception, that we must look for the origin of our galaxies and all other galaxies in the ninth sphere, in sex. The Temple of Wisdom is found in the ninth sphere. The Temple of Wisdom is to be found in the phallus and the uterus. It is impossible to experience the truth concerning the origin of the galaxies if we do not enter the ninth sphere, sex. The word fertilizes the waters of chaos in a sexual marriage at the dawn of life. Thus are galaxies and worlds born. The sexual fire of Kundalini always fertilizes the womb of the Great Mother. In the beginning was the Word. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 6. Chapter 3. The ORS Solar System. In Nirvana, the sense of family, tribe, and clan disappears because all beings consider themselves as members of one great family. Variety is unity. After a lot of observation and experience, however, all of us brothers and sisters have verified the existence of something similar to a family in each group of the Elohim or Prajapatis who govern the various solar systems of our galaxy. It is this sense of cosmic association within each group of Elohim that makes them like ineffable, divine, sublime families. The cosmic family, which governs the ORS solar system, in which we live, move, and have our being, counts among its members the distinguished Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, Michael, Samael, Zachariel, and Oriphiel. Each of these brothers is a chief of angelic legions. Each brother has to work intensively in the Father's great work. Gabriel is regent of the moon. Raphael is the regent of Mercury. Uriel governs Venus. Michael is king of the sun. Samael is regent of Mars. Zachariel is rector of Jupiter. Oriphiel rules the destiny of Saturn, ancient sage of the heavens. In the center of each sphere or planet is found the cosmic or planetary temple, the dwelling place of the genie regent. Any master of the White Lodge can visit the heart temple of the planet Earth in his astral body. The genie of Earth is the same Melchizedek spoken of in the Bible, Changam, king of the world. We have been told that the genie of Earth has a physical body similar to ours but eternal, immortal. Some Tibetan lamas have had the great joy of knowing Chongam personally. Earth's genie lives in Agartha, a subterranean kingdom, with the surviving initiates of Lemuria and Atlantis. The population of Agartha is waiting for the degenerate Aryan race, Earth's current race, to perish by fire. When all the perverse ones of this race have perished, then they, the survivors of Lemuria and Atlantis, will repopulate Earth. They will mix with a few select survivors of our present Aryan race and create the future sixth race. Lemurians and Atlanteans, with their original physical bodies, exist in the interior of the Earth. These races possess all the inventions of the atomic science of ancient times. The king of the world works intensively, helped by the chorus, those great beings who govern life and death on all planes of cosmic consciousness. Earth is a living organism, revolving around the sun, maintained firmly on its path by the planetary genie. Earth is a member of the great cosmic family of the Ors solar system. All the sidereal bodies close to Earth and governed by Melchizedek, king of fire, form part of this complex family. The Ors solar system includes within its sphere of influence a great variety of bodies, 9 planets governed by ineffable beings, 31 known satellites, thousands of asteroids, comets, and many millions of meteoric particles all traveling around the sun. Despite the number of and the enormous cosmic mass of all these bodies, an incredible 99% of the matter of the Ors solar system is concentrated in the sun. In reality, the solar king is the heart of the solar system. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 7. The 7 Chohans, who direct the 7 great cosmic rays, live and work in the sun's heart temple, which is located in the center of that radiant sphere. Few human beings from Earth can visit the heart temple of the sun in their astral body. A tremendous and frightening precipice leads the initiate toward the threshold of wisdom. Everyone who arrives at the sacred threshold must prostrate reverently in front of the guardian of the temple. A narrow path leads the visitor towards the heart temple where the 7 mighty Chohans dwell. All the life of the Ors solar system is centered in the heart of the sun, whose gravitational force keeps the whole solar family in their mechanical orbits. The machinery of the Ors solar system operates according to the great law. The orbits of the planets, which dance around the sun in rhythm with the great symphonies of the cosmic diapason, are wisely organized according to Bode's law. By taking the geometric progression 0, 3, 6, 12, 24, 48, 96, 192 and adding 4 to each number, we obtain a series which represents the approximate distances separating the planetary orbits and the sun. Mercury, lord of science, messenger of the gods, travels around the sun at a dizzying speed. Venus, star of music, love, and beauty, second planet from the sun, moves a little more slowly. Earth, our poor, afflicted, and martyred Earth, in third place, moves even more slowly under the wise direction of Chongam, Melchizedek. Our beloved Ors solar system has the solar system Baliuto as its neighbor. Occasionally, the famous comet Solna approaches dangerously near to the shining sun. Baliuto. To firmly maintain its usual cosmic path, Baliuto generates a very strong electrical force. This tension naturally and logically produces an identical tension in all neighboring suns, including our sun, Ors. This is the law of Weor.Gnostic, and it affects not only all the suns but also their respective planets. Earth is no exception to this law of Weor.Gnostic. This powerful electrical force provokes bloody revolutions and awful catastrophes. The law of Weor.Gnostic manifested twice in the ancient Egypt of the pharaohs. The first time, in a bloody revolution, the people elected new rulers by means of blood and death. They removed the eyes of all the outgoing rulers. In the second manifestation of this cosmic law, the Egyptian people, enraged, rose up against their rulers and killed them. Each one was tied up with a sacred rope and thrown into the Nile. That rope looked like a gigantic, macabre necklace. The Bolshevik Revolution was also a result of Weor.Gnostic. Each manifestation of the law of Weor.Gnostic has resulted in great social catastrophes. Knowledgeable men take advantage of the law of Weor.Gnostic to enter the path of inner self-realization. The Weor's solar system, seen from afar, appears as a man across the unchangeable infinite. Astronomers assure us that our solar system is moving towards the star Vega at 20 kilometers per second. In fact, the Sun, followed by the brilliant radiation of its own system, advances victoriously in sacred space. It moves 50 billion kilometers in 80 years. In 80 years, the sphere of radiation, the band of fire, the long and radiant body of our solar system appears as a figure 5 times longer than it is wide and as beautifully proportioned as the upright human body. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 8. All the movements of the planets are governed by the attraction exerted on them by the Sun. When the different planets move closer to the Sun, their velocity increases so they can energetically counteract the tremendous force of solar action. The planets which constitute our cosmic solar family range in size from the smallest, swift Mercury, messenger of the gods, which is closer to the center, to the mighty, thunderous Jupiter, father of the gods, which is halfway between the center and the circumference, and finally, to Pluto, the furthest known planet, a little bigger than swift Mercury. Many years of observation and experience have verified that the further away from the Sun a planet is, the slower its velocity around the Christ Sun. Indeed, the velocity of the planets diminishes from 50 kilometers per second for Mercury to 5 kilometers per second for Neptune, the lord of occult wisdom, the king of the sea. The axis of the Weor's solar system, which is our Sun, revolves monthly around an interstellar magnetic center or cosmic chakra. Swift Mercury, the celestial messenger, completes its revolution around the solar king in 3 months. Venus accomplishes its dance around the Sun in 8 months, and the Earth's journey lasts 12 months. The marvelous dance of Neptune, king of the sea, takes 164 years. The cosmic face of the Weor's solar system is extraordinarily complex and beautiful. The planetary bodies, appearing as multiple spirals of various tensions and diameters, resemble a series of radiant divine layers, which darken the white-hot long filament of the Sun of Weor's. Each spiral radiates splendidly with its own heat and brightness. This marvelous combined group is a mysterious, sublime network like a spider web. This web is magnificently woven by the multiple eccentric trajectories of thousands of asteroids and long-tailed comets. They shine with their fiery breath and ring with an incredible, subtle, and harmonious music based completely on those 3 beats of Mahavan and Chotaban, which keep the universe firmly on its march. In reality, the Weor's solar system is a living cosmic creature who was born many millions of years ago in the 9th sphere, sex. All men are similar in design and constitution, just as all the suns of infinite space are similar. That which distinguishes one man from another is his level of consciousness, just as what distinguishes one sun from another is its level of radiation. Light and consciousness are ultimately the same phenomenon. Light and consciousness obey the same laws, growing or diminishing in exactly the same way. In chaos, in the universal sperm, we find the cosmic design of humanity and of the suns. The self-development of the cosmic man or the solar system, that is, their illumination. And gradual irradiation is the level of self-generated consciousness of the particular solar system or particular cosmic man, a level which is totally dependent on that individual being. So that a man may be fully conscious of himself, all his aspects must become fully conscious. In order that a sun may be fully radiant, all of its planets, its cosmic organs, must be fully radiant. The task of the whole universe and of all beings, from the gigantic sun down to the insignificant cell, is to awaken consciousness. The Weor's solar system will become increasingly radiant as each of its worlds, each person, and each living cell becomes more conscious. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 9. The consciousness of all human beings on planet Earth is asleep. It is impossible to experience that which is the truth while one's consciousness is totally asleep. 4 states of consciousness exist: dreaming during the waking state, dreaming while the physical body is asleep, self-consciousness, awakened objective consciousness. Normally, people live in the first 2 states of consciousness. People not only dream when they sleep, but also in the so-called waking state. It is very rare to find a conscious human being, yet people firmly believe they already have an awakened consciousness. It is impossible to have objective knowledge as long as we have not attained self-consciousness. People dream while they live and work, nevertheless, they mistakenly believe they are awake. During the normal dream state of the physical body, the ego, enveloped in its body of desires, sleepwalks through the molecular region, dreaming. On returning to the physical body and then to the waking state, the individual continues his dreams. Whoever awakens consciousness no longer dreams but awakens in the internal worlds, while the physical body sleeps. The Weor's solar system will become more and more radiant as people increasingly awaken consciousness. The Weor's solar system is Adam Kadmon, the celestial man, born of water and fire in the 9th sphere, sex. The Weor's solar system, the cosmic man, must be totally self-awakened in every cell and in every man in order to become increasingly radiant. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 10. Chapter 4. Atomic Science. The Weor's solar system in which we live is essentially a great molecule which develops and unfolds within that vibrant organism, that spiral we call the Milky Way. The various scientific conceptions about atoms are only provisional. The splitting of the atom in no way signifies absolute knowledge about the structure of the atom or about the complete inner mechanism of molecules, subatomic particles, and electrons. The Saturnine conception of atomic structure is very empirical. All scientific or suprascientific opinion becomes too relative and unstable. We who are Gnostics emphatically affirm that, in addition to protons, electrons, neutrons, etc., there exist many other particles not yet known to conventional science. Within the atomic nucleus, there is a formidable structure still totally unknown to conventional science. Scientists have indeed split the atom and liberated nuclear energy, but actually, they do not know anything about the intracorpuscular structure of the electron. In the light of the new culture initiated in the world by the Gnostic movement, we may consider the electron as a primordial crystallization of that which the Hindus call Akasha, the raw material of the great work, the unique substance from which come, through link crystallizations, all multiple substances or the various elements of nature. The electron is undoubtedly an extraordinary primordial crystallization of a supraatomic character. Every atom and every electron has its origin in the living womb of the pure Akasha, the primordial substance, the Mula Prakriti of the Hindus, the chaos, the universal seminal waters of Genesis, the eternal feminine symbolized by all feminine deities of ancient religions, the Great Mother, Isis, Isaberta, Rhea, Cybele, Vesta, Mary, Tonantzin, etc. This primordial substance, the Akasha, this raw material of the great work, is without doubt the Divine Mother, Isis, the adorable Virgin of all ancient religions, always full of grace. The Father, the first Logos, deposited in her all the essence of his wisdom. The Son, the second Logos, deposited in her all the essence of his love. The Holy Spirit, the third Logos, deposited in her all the essence of his igneous power. Actually, there exists only one basic substance in the universe, which, when crystallized, is called matter. When not crystallized, when in its fundamental state, it is called the universal spirit of life. She begins her process of condensation or crystallization when the third Logos, by means of the sexual marriage of the Word, fecundates her with the flaming fire. She remains in her insipid, unsubstantial, and inodorous state during the cosmic night, during the great pralaya, when the universe, which has existed, ceases to exist. After the fire has fertilized her, the cosmic Christ, the second Logos, penetrates her belly, the great belly, and is born of her and in her in order to be crucified in the worlds. This is why she is always represented with a child in her arms, as Isis with the child horns in her arms, or as Mary with her golden child in her arms. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 11. In the fertile belly of the Great Mother, under the impulse of the third Logos, many force fields are created in which the waves of what we call prematter condense into corpuscles. Modern scientists have no precise knowledge about the mystery of the atomic nucleus, which they think is composed of protons and neutrons. They know nothing about the nuclear forces. All planetary material is scientifically formed by marvelous atoms. Undoubtedly, these are the smallest particles of the elements. Every atom is a true universe in miniature. Every atom is a trio of matter, energy, and consciousness. The atom consists of a nucleus, or radiant sun, which has a positive electrical charge, and around which infinitesimal planetary electrons, negatively charged and dancing happily, revolve. The atomic nucleus and the electron are similar in all substances. The elements differ only in the number of electrons governed by the nucleus and by the corresponding variation of its charge. The atom is a complete miniature solar system. What the sun is to the solar system and what the fertilized egg is to the human body is exactly what the atomic nucleus is with respect to the whole atomic universe. It is said that the diameter of the atomic nucleus is approximately 1/1000th of the whole atom, and just as the diameter of, so an electron of the atom may be 1/10 of the diameter of its nucleus, and in their own scale, they are revolving in an immensity of space as gigantic and profound as that comprised by the planet Earth and all the planets of the Or's solar system. Nature has many elements, which are now catalogued from 1 to 96 according to the number of electrons. Hydrogen with 1 electron has the atomic number 1, helium has 2 electrons and has the atomic number 2, etc. Indeed, only the elements developed in the belly of the Great Mother become different crystallizations of the primordial substance. This has 2 exceptions. In nature, there are 7 fundamental categories of density among the various elements. Each element is attracted sexually by one that possesses the complementary number of electrons. For example, sodium, with 1 surplus electron, is attracted sexually to chlorine, which lacks 1, and together they form salt. Here we have sex, the male and female of the elements of nature uniting sexually. The positive metal is irresistibly drawn to combine sexually with the negative non-metal in exact proportion to its opposite. This is an extraordinary Platonic parallel to the search by twin souls for their complementary half, after being separated at the dawn of creation. The active element in the Christ Son is an infinite quantity of hydrogen, whose atom possesses only one electron revolving around its nucleus. The hydrogen atom is on the border between matter in a molecular state and matter in an electronic state. The next, increasingly subtle state of hydrogen corresponds to free electrons, light, magnetic waves. And the spiritual state, in order to create an atom of helium and 2 rays of the sun, it is necessary to consume 4 hydrogen atoms. The sexual energy of the third logos flows pervasively from the center of every atom, galaxy, and solar system, uniting opposite poles to produce new creations. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 12. Hydrogen atoms and carbon atoms complement each other to initiate the development of light. The masculine hydrogen atoms with only 1 electron bombard the feminine carbon atoms with 6 electrons, creating nitrogen atoms with 7 electrons. The nitrogen atoms and new hydrogen atoms unite sexually and are transformed into light oxygen atoms. When there is abundance of light oxygen atoms, a free electron escapes, and with it, a certain quantity of radiant energy. Afterwards, the resulting heavy nitrogen atom is bombarded sexually once again by hydrogen. This time, however, the results differ. The hydrogen atom captures a nitrogen electron to form a helium atom with 2 electrons. The nitrogen atom of 7 electrons is reduced to a carbon atom with 6 electrons. This is the situation with which we began, because the end is the same as the beginning, plus the experience of the cycle. This is the law. In this way, the sexual cycle of carbon ends. The solar light is sexually created in the 9th sphere, sex. The great solar light is the chemical and mathematical result of the various sexual atomic processes of carbon. The hydrogen atoms constitute a bridge between the universal spirit of life and matter of various densities. The combination of hydrogen atoms with atoms of various substances already existing on Earth gives rise to all known forms of life. The splitting of the atom and nuclear explosions free submerged abysmal matter as well as new and terribly malicious atomic elements, neptunium, 93, plutonium, 94, americium, 95, and curium, 96. These terribly malicious infernal substances escape from the abyss when there are atomic explosions, and they attract certain frightful and monstrous psychological characteristics to the Earth's surface and to the minds of people. The splitting of the atom is a blasphemy, a scientific madness that not only brings physical damage to this afflicted world, but also psychic and mental monstrosities. Horrible abominations of an infernal type. If human beings would study solar energy and learn to use it intelligently, liquid fuel would be eliminated and the conquest of space would be possible, given the right conduct of humanity. A place reached by a ray of light is a place that can be reached by man. Solar energy is millions of times more powerful than atomic energy. The great molecule, the Earth's solar system, functions marvelously, thanks to the great power of solar energy. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 13. Chapter 5. The 9th sphere. Earth is a marvelous organism full of intense cosmic vitality. On the Earth's surface there exist formidable rocks, sand, and soil where the gnomes reside. The interior of the planetary organism is unknown to academic science. Indeed, scientists know very little about the interior of our globe. It is said that its temperature rises in direct proportion to the distance from the surface. The waves produced by earthquakes, when moving deep underground, travel as other waves do in a liquid element, but when moving closer to the surface, they travel as other waves do when moving through a solid. The Earth's mantle appears to be a crust 50 to 60 kilometers thick. On this marvelous crust, we find minerals, soil, sand, and water. Below this crust, on which the history of humanity has unfolded, there exists another layer, 3,500 meters thick, which is composed of magnesium, oxygen, and silicon combined to make another kind of solid rock. Scientists know nothing at this time about the core of the Earth. They only guess that its density and temperature are very high and that it has a diameter of approximately 6,940 kilometers. From the esoteric point of view, Earth has 9 layers, and the symbol of infinity is found in the 9th layer. It is necessary to know that the sacred symbol of infinity is found in the heart of the Earth, in its living nucleus, and has the form of an 8 in a horizontal position. In the Holy 8, the symbol of the infinite, we find, symbolically, the brain, heart, and sex of the genie of Earth. The 2 opposing circles of the Holy 8 represent the brain and the sex. The center is the symbolic seat of the heart. The battle is tremendous, brain against sex, sex against brain, and even more bitter, heart against heart. The structure of all organized beings on this planet Earth is in accordance with this symbol. In the center of the Holy 8, there exists a central atom to which gravitate the 12 spheres of cosmic vibration within which a solar humanity must develop. The fetus remains 9 months in the maternal womb, and 9 ages are necessary for the birth of planetary humanity. The 9th sphere is sex. In the 9th sphere, we find fire and water, the origin of the worlds, beasts, men, and gods. All authentic white initiation begins there. The 9th sphere is the fiery forge of Vulcan. Mars descends there to retemper his sword and conquer the heart of Venus. It is there that Hercules cleans the stables of Augeas. It is there that Perseus cuts off the head of the Medusa with his flaming sword. Since ancient times, descent to the 9th sphere has been the greatest test of the supreme integrity of the Hierophant, including Buddha, Hermes, Jesus, Krishna, Dante, Zoroaster, Quetzalcoatl, Muhammad, Moses, etc. The symbol of infinity is an esoteric symbol that can only be known through esotericism. Great initiates say that this symbol is made of pure gold and is found in the exact center of Earth in the 9th sphere. In reality, within our living Earth, there exist great splendors and dense darkness. We must comprehend the 3 aspects of Earth's interior. Buddha's Necklace, Samael Aun Weor. 14. First aspect, minerals, fire, water, etc. Second aspect, esoteric ultraviolet zone. Third aspect, infrared tenebrous zone. The subterranean layers of Earth are the kingdom of minerals, lithosphere, and the kingdom of metals, barosphere, which surround a heart of incredible density and inertia. In the dimensions of superior space, within the planetary organism, there are 9 superior concentric spheres like ineffable sublime regions, which are inhabited by elemental creatures, masters, devas, etc. In the infrared submerged inferior dimensions of space, there are the infernal worlds in the form of concentric spheres of increasing density, which led, according to Dante, towards the middle, at which point unite all the heavy substances. That point to which every heavy substance from everywhere is dragged. This is the center of Earth's heart, where we find the maximum density and gravity, the fundamental seat of Satan, the Inferno. Where the light shines most clearly, there also is the darkness densest. This is the law of the analogies of opposites. In the center of the Earth's heart are both the seat of Satan and the temple of the genie of Earth, the symbol of infinity, and angels and demons in eternal battle. The nucleus of the Earth has 3 regions: physical region, ultraviolet region, infrared region. The 9th sphere, sex, is Earth's center, and in the human being, this is the battlefield between the powers of light and the powers of darkness. The secret key, which permits us to enter the 9th sphere, is the Arcanum AZF, the Sahaja Maithuna. remember that the symbols of Shiva, the third logos, are always the black lingam inserted in the yoni. The important thing is not to ejaculate the ens saminis during the sexual act, because within the ens saminis is found all the ens virtudes of the fire. The arcanum AZF is the key, which permits us to open the ninth door. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 15. Chapter 6. Sexual Energy. The sexual cycle is governed by the planet Uranus and lasts for 84 years. The north and south poles of Uranus take turns pointing towards the sun. These poles are the determining factors in the 84-year cycle of the human species. If the positive or masculine pole of Uranus points towards the sun, the masculine sexual impulse predominates on the earth. If the negative or feminine pole points towards the sun, then the feminine sexual impulse predominates. The masculine sex predominates for 42 years, the feminine sex reigns supreme for 42 years. The time of piracy, of Isabel, of masculine unfolding, of knightly adventures, these clearly represent the masculine sexual cycle. This year, 1965, in which women undress, predominate, order and accuse, shows clearly the feminine sexual cycle. The mature man or woman lives in the opposite sexual atmosphere from that in which they were born, a situation which is totally stimulating. This explains why sexual feelings are often richer and more vigorous at 40 than at 30. Sex itself should be the most elevated and creative function. Unfortunately, ignorance reigns supreme, and humanity is very far from understanding the great mysteries of sex. If we study the Book of the Heavens, the marvelous zodiac, we will understand that the zodiacal sign of Aquarius governs the new age of Aquarius. The symbol of Aquarius is the water carrier, a woman trying to intelligently mix the waters in the two buckets she carries. This symbol reminds us of sexual alchemy. In Pisces, people were mere slaves to their sexual instincts, symbolized by two fish in the waters of life. However, in Aquarius, people must learn to intelligently combine the waters of existence and to transmute the sexual forces. Uranus, the planet, which also governs the sexual functions, governs Aquarius. It seems incongruous and absurd that some isolated individuals and certain pseudo-esoteric schools reject the Maithuna, sexual magic, but nevertheless have pretensions about initiating the new age. Uranus is 100% sexual, and in the new era governed by this planet, human beings should know, in depth, the mysteries of sex. Rejecting the Maithuna, sexual magic, means, in fact, pronouncing oneself against the sign of Aquarius, governed by Uranus, king of sex. We should remember that the most subtle, powerful, and pure energy produced and conducted marvelously throughout the human organism is sexual energy. Through a deep analysis of the surprising power of sexual energy, we arrive at the conclusion that it is extraordinarily volatile and difficult to store and control. Sexual energy is like a supply of dynamite, whose presence is a source of tremendous potential and danger that can explode catastrophically at any time. Sexual energy has its own circulatory channels and has its own organized electrical system. When sexual energy infiltrates into the mechanisms of other functions, it can produce huge explosions and tremendous biological, physiological, and psychic catastrophes. Violent and destructive manifestations of sexual energy stem from certain negative psychological attitudes towards sex in general. Suspicion, fear of sex, sexual prejudices. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 16. Cynical, brutal, or obscene feelings towards sex. These all obstruct the channels in which sexual energy circulates. As a result, the energy deviates, infiltrating other channels, systems, and functions, where it produces horrible catastrophes. Such catastrophes are multifaceted. At times, it has fiery aspects, which inflame people with passionate anger. At other times, it is bitter with hurtful replies, harmful words, violent denunciations, etc. These and thousands of other disgusting matters of the human species are the result of the infiltration of sexual energy into various inappropriate channels and functions. People who waste their sexual energy in unwholesome sexual conversation, in watching pornographic movies, or in reading obscene books, become impotent. People who spend their time intellectualizing unhappily about the sexual act without actually completing it become impotent. When the opportunity to perform the act presents itself, far away from the intellectual field, these people can't act, they fail. Imagination and intellect, wrongly used, can lead to psychosexual impotence. Morbid use of imagination, which is a wrong use of imagination, exhausts the sexual energy so that when the individual wants to consummate the act, he fails, he is impotent. Excessive intellectualizing about sex also leads to impotence. Those who only analyze the sexual act without performing it will be tremendously surprised when they finally try to do it in reality. They will find they are impotent. On arriving at this section of our present chapter, our readers should not be frightened. It is urgent for us to study the sexual mysteries, but the abuse stemming from excessive rationalizing about sex, while excluding the sexual act for a very long and indefinite period, produces psychosexual impotence. Sub-imagination and infra-imagination exist. Any person can, if this is desired, contemplate another person of the opposite sex with purity, but sub-imagination and infra-imagination can betray us in the submerged levels of the mind, leading us into coitus in other states of consciousness. Usually, nocturnal pollutions result, with abundant loss of seminal liquid. We constantly receive many letters at the patriarchal headquarters of the Gnostic movement here in Mexico from people complaining of having erotic dreams, accompanied by nocturnal pollutions. We reply by suggesting the Maithuna, sexual magic, AZF, sexual union without ejaculation of semen, as the only remedy for nocturnal pollutions. Clearly, daily practice of the Maithuna will accustom the human being to restraining himself in the sexual act in order to avoid spilling the semen. As he becomes accustomed to the super effort this requires, he will, when performing the act in dreams, restrain himself from instinct in order to avoid ejaculation. No pollution occurs. Sex and imagination are intimately associated. It is impossible to achieve absolute chastity if we do not transform our imagination into a pure mirror without the smallest spot. We must transform our mechanical and morbid sub-imagination and our automatic and lustful infra-imagination into the imagination of a newborn child. This kind of transformation is possible only with a special type of help, which comes from our divine Mother Kundalini, the igneous serpent of our magical powers. It is necessary to know how to pray to the divine serpent, asking her, begging her, to perform the miracle of transforming the subjective and mechanical imagination into that. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor, 17. Of a newborn baby, only the Divine Mother, the sacred serpent, can transform the morbid sub-imagination and the bestial infra-imagination into the innocent imagination of a newborn baby. A small child can contemplate a beautiful nude woman in a pure and perfect way without feeling any lust. Indeed, unless one is as innocent as a child, it is impossible to enter the kingdom of esotericism. In the physical world, some people attain perfect chastity and have the luxury of contemplating the nude body of a person of the opposite sex without feeling any lust. It is obvious that these exceptional people believe they have arrived at absolute chastity in the subconscious territories of the mind, not even remotely suspecting that both their Imagination and subjective mechanical infra-imagination betray them below the limits of the intellectual sphere. These people may have a pure imagination, but ignore the fact that in regions unknown to their intellect, in their sub-imagination and infra-imagination, they can be terrible fornicators. When this type of person undergoes a test of chastity in the superior worlds, or in the submerged worlds of nature, or when they are placed in the different states, situations, or time of the infraconscious or subconscious, they fail lamentably. Many people write us asking for a remedy for nocturnal pollutions. We always answer these sick people with the recipe of sexual magic, the Methuna. Those who customarily restrain themselves in the sexual act to avoid ejaculating the seminal liquor cure themselves of nocturnal pollutions. Morbid and lustful dreams are produced by the mechanical sub-imagination and the erotic, automatic infra-imagination. If we turn on the television, automatically a succession of scenes and figures pass before our eyes. The imagination is like a television screen, which is triggered by any sexual shock, not only in the intellectual sphere, but in the deeper levels of the mind as well. Any dreamer can be affected in the internal worlds by morbid representations. Those representations produce erotic dreams and nocturnal pollutions. If the dreamer customarily restrains himself in the sexual act, he will have erotic dreams, but not nocturnal pollutions. If the dreamer has transformed his sub-imagination and infra-imagination into that of an innocent child, erotic dreams are impossible, they totally disappear. If any esoteric student is subjected to terrible sexual tests in the internal worlds, without having first passed through long periods of daily sexual magic, he will fail lamentably, losing his seminal liquid in nocturnal pollutions. Without sexual magic, without the Methuna, Arcanum AZF, it is impossible to advance on the initiatic path. When sexual energy is centrifugal, when it flows outwards, seminal discharges and nocturnal pollutions are the result. With the Arcanum AZE or sexual magic, the various currents of sexual energy reverse their course, become centripetal, and flow inwards. Seminal discharges and nocturnal pollutions are impossible when the sexual energy flows from the exterior to the interior. Sexual energy has, in itself, on a superior molecular level, the universal seal or cosmic design of the true man, or woman. We can crystallize this design in each of us by means of sexual magic. Whoever wants to self-realize must descend to the ninth sphere, the origin of worlds, beasts, men, and gods, and work with fire and water. All authentic, white initiation begins there. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor, 18. There is a close relationship between sexual energy and imagination. Sexual energy is the primary foundation of inner self-realization. Initiates who walk the path of the razor's edge are subjected to many sexual tests in the infraconscious, unconscious, human, subhuman, and infrahuman worlds. If the initiate does not transform his morbid sub-imagination and mechanical erotic infra-imagination into the imagination of an innocent newborn child, he will inevitably fail all the sexual trials. We need to know that initiates are placed in the internal worlds in other times, places, situations, and various subhuman or infrahuman states of consciousness, where they don't even remember their studies, the path, etc. Now our readers will understand the urgent necessity of transforming their sub-imagination and infra-imagination into conscious imagination, as objective and pure as that of a newborn child. Now our readers will understand the intimate relation that exists between sex and imagination. Sexual energy can transform a man into an angel or a beast. In the Western world there are many people who passionately hate sexual magic. Those people justify their absurd hate in many ways. They say the Maithuna is probably only for Orientals and we Westerners aren't ready for it. Such people affirm that this teaching of sexual yoga will have as its only result a crop of black magicians. What is very interesting about all this is that those same reactionary, conservative, regressive, and backward-looking people don't say a word against fornication, adultery, prostitution, homosexuality, pederasty, masturbation, etc. All these activities seem normal to them, and they ignore the tragic waste of their sexual energy. The ignorant fornicators of reactionary pseudo-occultism totally ignore the secret doctrine of the savior of the world, Christian esotericism. This pseudo-esoteric and pseudo-occult reaction ignores the fact that the early Christian Gnostic sects practiced the Maithuna, sexual magic. This was taught in all ancient schools of Western mysteries. The Maithuna was known as part of the mysteries of the Templars, Aztecs, Mayans, Incas, Chibchas, Zapotecs, Araucanians, and the Toltecs. It was also one of the Eleusinian and Mithraic mysteries. It was among the mysteries of Rome, Carthage, and Tyre. It was part of the mysteries of the Celts, Phoenicians, Egyptians, Druids, and all early Christian sects. One of the latter was the Essene sect, whose convent was on the shores of the Dead Sea and which had as one of its most exalted members the divine Rabbi of Galilee. The Maithuna, sexual magic, is universal. It is part of the mysteries of North and South, East and West, but reactionary, regressive, and fornicating pseudo-occultists violently reject it. The fundamental stone of authentic and legitimate mystery schools is the Maithuna, the Arcanum Aze, sexual magic. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor, 19. Chapter 7. The Attraction of Opposites. The sexual energy of the third logos harmonizes all the functions of the human organism in a splendid manner. Sexual energy is not only perfect in itself, but also desires perfection in everything that exists. Sexual energy produces accord and harmony among all the specific functions of the human organism. It works in the marvelous laboratory of the body with the goal of giving to that organism the highest potential and harmony. The creative energy of the third logos always strives to perfect each of the marvelous physiological, psychosomatic, and spiritual functions of the human being. The creative energy of the third logos completes the work, complementing and correcting deficiencies. If we consider man and woman as two halves of one being, we then arrive, by logical deduction, at the loving attraction of opposites. Souls, anxious for love, continually search for their other half, the twin soul from which they were separated at the dawn of creation. We always need, on the road of life, that other being who can fulfill us, who can supply exactly what we lack, not only physiologically, but also psychosomatically and spiritually. Each one of our physical and psychic functions needs its human complement. This is a natural necessity of every living being. The mutual combinations of the elements of nature, the chemical weddings, the sexual combination of opposite elements, in order to achieve a perfect whole, these constitute the living principle of everything that is, has been, and will be. It has already been demonstrated that the chemical elements are attracted and combined lovingly in accordance with the complementary number of electrons. Every chemist knows, through observation and experience, that the perfect electron shell of an atom has a specific number of electrons. Sodium, which has an extra electron in its electron shell, unites sexually with chlorine, which lacks one. The amazing thing about all this is that sodium, with one extra electron, would never combine with other alkalis of a similar composition. In the depths of all these marvels, of all these miracles of love, we find the matrimony of the elements, which is the foundation on which rests all chemistry. Without exaggeration, we can affirm that this principle of sexual attraction of opposites always applies, without exception, to the attraction and marriage of men and women. Each organic and psychic function always wants its complement, and the feeling of indifference, attraction, or repulsion between a man and a woman is the result of an extraordinarily rapid and exact subtle calculation which happens silently. The sexual sense is faster than thought and makes amazing calculations. It knows with mathematical precision if a person of the opposite sex has all the reciprocal factors necessary to complement our own. Within the human organism, the various glands and glandular systems and their dependent functions work in pairs, some controlling the masculine functions and some controlling the feminine functions. There is a marvelous exchange of chemical substances between the masculine and feminine glands. The dual masculine-feminine aspect of the pituitary gland is amazing. Scientists know that the anterior lobe of the pituitary is masculine and the posterior is feminine. The Buddha's Necklace Samael Aun Weor. 20. Masculine and feminine glands harmoniously coordinate all the biological functions of the human organism. Venus and Mars control the pituitary and pineal glands. While Venus, in the pituitary, wants to sleep, Mars, in the pineal, wants to continue struggling. In the neck, the same battle between Venus and Mars is repeated. Venus controls the thyroids and Mars controls the parathyroid. The surface and the medulla of the suprarenal always correspond to the masculine and feminine counterparts, which lead to conflict or evasion. This union of masculine and feminine sexual elements in every gland of the human body is wisely symbolized in the images of Tibetan Tantrism, where each god is accompanied by a goddess or feminine Shakti. Life is difficult, and each man and woman, beginning at 14 years of age, searches for his or her sexual complement. Any man can find a woman who can complement him for a specific function, but it may be another woman who is the complement for his fundamental center of gravity. The same is true for women. This explains the sexual cause of the famous and tragic triangles, which end in divorce or violence. Only with virtue, only by complying with the Christian commandment not to commit adultery, can these fatal triangles cease to exist. The ideal in love is to meet your other half, your better half, your twin soul. Only the total and perfect complement can give inexhaustible happiness. It is, however, a lot to expect. We don't deserve so much because we are full of karma. In conjugal life, we can see that sometimes the woman leads and sometimes the man leads. In every home, there is one who leads and one who follows. Do not confuse this with commanding and being commanded. Speaking astrologically, let us say that Venus has to lead the moon, Mercury has to lead Venus, Saturn has to lead Mercury, Mars has to lead Saturn, Jupiter has to lead Mars, and the moon has to lead Jupiter. It is necessary in these matters that we know what star guides our life. These astrologically wise combinations given here mean mutual attractions and perfect sexual complements. Other kinds of sexual unions are absurd and even illegitimate because they violate the sexual nature of the interested parties, leaving them with deep psychic injuries, which are difficult to heal. The mercurial man adores the beautiful Venusian because of the love and sweetness she radiates and can draw her from her romantic laziness, giving her the mercurial lightness she needs. The Jupiter woman who is crazy with love for the Martian man can extinguish his violence and channel his energy in an edifying way. The attraction of the opposites has its origins in a divine, ineffable, cosmic model. The lunar type is always attracted to a Venusian. The Venusian is attracted to the mercurial. The mercurial is attracted to the Saturnian. The Saturnian is attracted to the Martian. The Martian is attracted to the Jupiter type. and the Jupiter type is attracted to the lunar. Based on these marvelous combinations, the various human types can combine themselves and establish perfect marriages on Earth. The Gnostic couple, working internally in the fiery forge of Vulcan, the ninth sphere. Sex can achieve, by means of the Methuna, sexual magic, what the enemies of sex cannot achieve, even though they declare themselves vegetarian, torture themselves, or live like hermits. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 21. We find in sex the greatest force, which can liberate or enslave humankind. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 22. Chapter 8. Sexual hydrogen. Si 12. There exist in the universe 12 basic hydrogen, arranged AC according to the 12 categories of matter. These 12 categories of matter exist in all creation, for example, the 12 zodiacal salts and the 12 spheres of cosmic vibration within which a solar humanity must develop. From the 12 basic hydrogen are derived all the secondary hydrogen whose densities vary from 6 to 12,283. The term hydrogen has an extensive meaning in Gnosticism. Any simple element is actually a hydrogen of a certain density. Hydrogen 384 is found in water. Hydrogen 192 is in the air. Hydrogen 96 is wisely deposited in animal magnetism. Emanations of the human body, X-rays, hormones, vitamins, etc. Brothers and sisters of the Gnostic movement are already familiar with hydrogen 48, 24, 12, and 6 because we have studied them in our previous Christmas messages. Hydrogen 48 corresponds to chlorine, Cl, atomic weight 35.5, hydrogen 24 corresponds to fluorine, Fl, atomic weight 19, hydrogen 12 corresponds to the hydrogen of chemistry, H, atomic weight 1. Carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen have atomic weights of 12, 14, and 16. Hydrogen 96 corresponds to bromine, bridge, atomic weight 80. Hydrogen 192 corresponds to iodine, I, atomic weight 127. This interesting subject of hydrogen belongs to the area of occult chemistry or Gnostic chemistry. Since this topic is so difficult, we prefer, for the well-being of our students, to study it a little at a time in each of our Christmas messages. We will proceed now to study the famous sexual hydrogen, Si-12, the marvelous creative hydrogen that is wisely manufactured in the factory of the human organism. The food we eat passes through many transformations, refinements, and subtleties, and these processes occur like the musical scale, do re mi fa sol la si. The food we eat begins with the note do. The chime from this first stage of transformation moves on to re. This refined food passes by osmosis into the bloodstream and continues with the note mi. Successive processes follow until there remains the best of the whole organism, the marvelous elixir, the seminal liquor, with its hydrogen 12 in the note Si. Sexual hydrogen Si-12 is found in the semen. It is the creative power of the third logos. The first musical octave, do, re, mifa, sol, la, si corresponds exactly to the production of sexual hydrogen Si-12 inside the organism. The Methuna, sexual magic, produces a special shock which permits sexual hydrogen Si-12 to pass to a second musical octave, do re mifa sol la si. The result of this is a crystallization of sexual hydrogen Si-12 into the extraordinary form of the astral body. We call this the transmutation of lead into gold. The transmutation of flesh and blood into the astral body is urgent. A second shock by means of the Methuna, sexual magic, allows the sexual hydrogen Si-12 to pass to a third musical octave, do re mifa sol la si, whose result is the crystallization of sexual hydrogen S112 into the wonderful form of the mental body. Body of paradise. A third shock by the Maithuna permits the hydrogen Si12 to pass to the fourth musical octave, the result of which is the crystallization of the sexual hydrogen Si12 into the magnificent form of the conscious will or causal body. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 23. Sexual hydrogen Si12 is both seed and fruit, and it is amazing that it always crystallizes into organisms of flesh and bone. Let us remember that the physical body is the result of sexual hydrogen Si12. The astral body is also the result of that special act, the Maithuna, union of phallus and uterus without spilling the semen. The astral body is a body of flesh and bone. However, that flesh does not come from Adam, but is the product of sexual hydrogen Si12. The true mental body is the product of the Maithuna, sexual magic, and sexual hydrogen Si12. This is the body of paradise, a body of perfection, a body of flesh and bone, but flesh that does not come from Adam. The body of conscious will, also called the causal body, is also the result of the Maithuna, the sexual act without spilling the semen. The crystallization of the sexual hydrogen Si12 produces the body of conscious will. The causal body, the authentic astral body, the true mental body, and the legitimate causal body, these are solar bodies, the existential superior bodies of the being. Whoever builds the existential superior bodies of the being, the solar bodies in the ninth sphere, is able, and has every right to incarnate his real being, his triune immortal spirit, Atman, Buddhi, Manas, divine spirit, life spirit, human spirit, intimus, spiritual soul, human soul. When someone reaches these initiatic heights, a new man is born, the Son of Man, a new master of the day, a master of the Manvantara. The physical body is sustained with hydrogen-48. The surplus of this hydrogen is converted into hydrogen-24, which feeds the astral body. The surplus of hydrogen-24 is converted into hydrogen-12. Do not confuse this with this sexual hydrogen Si12. Hydrogen-12 feeds the mental body. The excess of hydrogen-12 is transformed into hydrogen-6, which feeds the body of conscious will, the authentic causal body. To create the solar bodies, we must work in the Maithuna, sexual magic, without spilling the semen. We must work in the fiery forge of Vulcan, in the ninth sphere, sex. This is more bitter that bile 20 or 30 years of daily sexual connection with only one spouse without ever spilling even one drop of semen, without permitting the semen to escape from the organism. The twice-born, who is born in the superior worlds as master of the Manvantara, who leaves the ninth sphere because he has completed his work, can never return to the ninth sphere. To do so would be a crime. It would be like a child wanting to return to his mother's womb after his birth. The twice-born is a son of Mother Kundalini, and if he wishes to progress, he must love his divine mother, never forgetting her. The sexual act is forbidden to the twice-born for all eternity, and he must achieve absolute chastity in all areas of the mind. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 24. Chapter 9. The lunar bodies. All the real esoteric and occult schools base their traditions on the Theosophical septenary, which is as follows. Theosophic septenary. 1. Atman, intimus. 2. Buddhi, spiritual soul. 3. Superior manas, human soul. 4. Inferior manas, mental body. 5. Kamas, desire or astral body. 6. Linga Sarira, vital body. 7. Saintula Sarira, physical body. Atman is the Lord, the intimus. Buddhi is the spiritual soul. Superior manas is the human soul. The intimus, the Lord, has two souls. the spiritual soul, buddhi, and the human soul, superior manas, causal principle. These two souls must work under the direction of the Lord, but this is only possible in masters. Usually, the human soul, which is masculine, works, while the spiritual soul, which is feminine, plays. In masters, the spiritual soul is laden with fruits that, when ready, must be nurtured by the human soul. People feel proud of their mental body because they use it to reason, discuss, make plans, etc. But this mental body is 100% lunar, and all animals have it in the incipient state. People live in the world of animal passions, enjoying passionate desires because their emotional vehicle is really only a lunar animal body of bestial desires. The vital body is the fourth-dimensional body, the linga sarira of the Hindus, the living foundation of all physical, chemical, caloric, and perceptual activities. The vital body is merely the superior section of the physical body, the fourth-dimensional part of the physical body. Within the mental and desire vehicles, many clairvoyants often see a pretty creature of an electric blue color, a very beautiful creature whom they easily confuse with the human soul or body of conscious will, causal body. Actually, the intellectual animal does not yet have a causal body. The beautiful blue creature seen by clairvoyants inside the lunar vehicles is what Zen Buddhists call Buddhata, the essence, a fraction of the sacred human soul, which is within us. No intellectual animal has a causal body, no intellectual animal has incarnated the immortal triad. When someone incarnates his divine immortal triad, he immediately stops being an intellectual animal and is transformed into a man only by building the solar bodies. Can we have the luxury of incarnating the divine immortal triad Atman, Buddhi, Manas? Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 25. If we wish to ascend, we must first descend. Only by descending to the ninth sphere can we build the solar bodies in order to incarnate the immortal triad and be transformed into men. Right now, we are only intellectual animals. The intellect is our unique adornment, and if our intellect were lost, we would be useless animals, even worse than orangutans and gorillas. We would be idiotic, defenseless, and bestial creatures. Zen Buddhism considers the lunar bodies to be mental forms that should be dissolved, reduced to dust. These lunar bodies are the common property of all beasts, including the intellectual beast, wrongly called man. Only by building the solar bodies can we have the luxury of incarnating the immortal triad and transforming ourselves into real men. The solar bodies are the result of conscious work done on oneself. Only by descending to the ninth sphere can we build the solar bodies, incarnate the immortal triad, and be born in the superior worlds as new masters of the Manvantara. During the hours of dreaming and after death, the intellectual animal lives in the supra-sensible worlds, with lunar bodies, cold and ghost-like. The solar bodies are living, radiant, sublime flames. Remember that angels, archangels, masters, etc., use solar bodies. The authentic astral solar body is a vehicle of flesh and bone, but not the flesh of Adam. It is a body of incalculable beauty and supreme happiness. The legitimate mental solar body is a body of paradise, a body of flesh and bone, but not the flesh of Adam. It is a body of feminine nature, receptive. The true mental solar body is more than a vehicle for reasoning. It is a vehicle of comprehension. Those who possess the true mental body do not need to accept or reject, they comprehend, that is all. The authentic mental solar body has 300,000 magnetic centers, and every center should vibrate at the same tone without effort. The mental solar body with its 300,000 magnetic centers is formidable, marvelous. The adept who possesses a fully developed mental solar vehicle receives and comprehends the truth from moment to moment, without the tremendous battle of thought, the legitimate body of conscious will permits the adept to have conscious immortality. It permits the adept to realize proper actions of conscious will and to determine circumstances. Every master who has been born in the superior worlds must eliminate the lunar bodies, because these are the animal residues from ancient times. The common, ordinary disincarnated, dressed in their lunar bodies, appear as unconscious sleep walkers, cold, ghost-like, and living in the past. The intellectual animal is 100% lunar and is not a true man. Only by building the solar bodies can we transform ourselves into true men, women. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 26. Chapter 10. The Pluralized I. Authors who affirm the existence of a permanent or immutable ego or I are sincere and well-intentioned, but they are mistaken. We need to know that we have a pluralized I within our animal lunar bodies. Hatred, jealousy, anger, covetousness, lust, envy, pride, laziness, gluttony, etc., all emotions, all sensations, all thoughts, all sentiments, and all passions consist of small that are not in any way related to or coordinated with each other. There is no integral, unitotal I, but a multitude of wretched, screaming, quarrelsome I's that fight among themselves, struggling for supremacy. The monks of the monastery of Mount Athos delight themselves by becoming conscious of all these small I's, learning to manage them, to pass them from one center to another, etc. The monks kneel down, raise their arms bent at the elbows, and say, ego, in a loud voice, prolonging the sound. At the same time, they try to pinpoint where the word ego, the I, resounds in their organism. The purpose of this exercise is to feel a particular and to pass it from one center to another at will. The I's which we have within our lunar bodies are true demons, created by ourselves. A particular I may automatically follow another I's, and some appear to be accompanied by others. However, there is no order in all this, no true unity, only accidental associations, small groups associating in an unconscious and subjective way. Each one of these small I's represents only a small part of the totality of our functions. But each one thinks, wrongly, that it is always the whole. When the intellectual animal, wrongly called man, says I, he feels that he speaks of his total self, but in reality, what he refers to is one of the small I's of a legion of I's. The I, which today swears fidelity before the altar of Gnosis, believes itself to be the whole, unique, and complete person, but it is only one of the legions of I's. When that particular I falls from his position of command, another I, which is the enemy of Gnosis, occupies its place. Then, that person who seemed so enthusiastic about Gnosis is transformed into an enemy, attacking our movement, our doctrine, etc. The I that today swears eternal love to a woman thinks he is the only one, the master, the complete man, so he says, I adore you, I love you, I would give my life for you, etc. But when that lovesick I is displaced from his position of command by another I, then that man leaves that woman and falls in love with another. All these small I's are real demons that live within the lunar bodies and are created in the 5 centers of the machine. These 5 centers are intellect, emotion, movement, instinct, and sex. We discussed the 5 centers of the human machine thoroughly in our last Christmas message. It is lamentable that human beings, due to a lack of knowledge, are creating in these 5 centers innumerable demons, which steal part of their consciousness and their life. Also, without a doubt, sometimes some foreign demons or I's created by other people enter our lunar bodies. Those foreign I's steal part of our consciousness. They settle down in any of the 5 centers of the human machine and, as a result, are transformed into part of our ego, the I. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 27. In reality, the intellectual animal does not have true individuality, he does not have a permanent center of gravity, and he does not have a true sense of moral responsibility. The only thing of value within our lunar bodies is the Buddhata, the sacred essence, the psychic material that is unfortunately wasted by the various entities which together constitute the ego, the pluralized I. Many pseudo-occult or pseudo-esoteric schools divide the I in two. They assert that we have a superior, divine, and immortal I, and believe that the superior I, or divine ego, should control and totally dominate the inferior I. This concept is totally false because superior and inferior are the two sections of the same thing. The I enjoys being divided between superior and inferior. The I likes to think that a part of itself is divine, eternal, immortal. The I loves to be praised, to have homage rendered, to be worshipped, to have divine status, etc. In reality, no such superior or divine I exists. Within the lunar bodies, there exist only the essence and the legion of I's, that is all. Atman, the being, has nothing to do with any kind of I. The being is the being and is beyond any type of I. Our real being is impersonal, cosmic, ineffable, and supremely divine. Unfortunately, the intellectual animal cannot incarnate his real being, Atman, Buddhi, Manas, because he has only lunar bodies, and these would not be able to withstand the tremendous electric voltage of our true being. We would die. The demons inhabiting the lunar bodies are not imprisoned in the animal bodies. Normally, they enter and leave, traveling to various places or walking subconsciously through the various molecular regions of nature. After death, the pluralized I continues within the lunar bodies, projecting itself anywhere into nature from these bodies. The mediums of spiritism or spiritualism lend their physical vehicles to those I's of the dead. Such I's, although giving proof of their identity and showing themselves to be the invoked dead person, are not the real being of the deceased. Mediums will have epilepsy as karma in their future lives. All epileptics have been mediums in past lives. Not all the entities which constitute the ego, the I, return to this world in order to incorporate or be reborn in a new organism. Some of these entities, these small I's, detach themselves from the group in order to enter the infernal worlds, the submerged mineral kingdom. Others enjoy reincorporating themselves in organisms of the inferior animal kingdom, horses, donkeys, dogs, etc. The masters of the White Lodge often help distinguished dead people who have sacrificed for humanity. When we decided to study Pancho Villa, the great hero of the Mexican Revolution, we found him in the infernal worlds, still obsessed with the idea of killing, threatening all the inhabitants of the underworld with his pistol. Nevertheless, this Pancho Villa of the submerged mineral kingdom is not the whole man. The best of Pancho Villa lives in the molecular world. Certainly, he has not attained intermediate liberation, which permits some of the disincarnated to enjoy a vacation in the various molecular and electronic kingdoms of nature. Rather, he remains on the threshold, awaiting an opportunity to enter a new womb. What will reincorporate is not the Pancho Villa of the infernal worlds, not the Pancho Villa who is a terrible assassin, but the best of the general, those values that led him to sacrifice for humanity and shed his blood for the liberty of an oppressed people. The Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 28. Disincarnated general, or rather, the really useful values of the general will reincorporate. The great law will reward him for his sacrifice with the highest position in the nation. We use the case of General Pancho Villa to illustrate how a man may receive special help because of his great sacrifice for humanity. There are people, however, who do not receive this help. Those people, if everything animal and criminal were taken away, would have nothing left. This kind of human beast must enter the involving worlds of nature. A certain initiate suffered unspeakably because he failed all tests of chastity in the infernal worlds, although he had achieved perfect chastity in the physical world. That initiate was mortified. He pleaded and begged, asking for superior help from his mother, Kundalini. His divine mother helped him. She, the igneous serpent of our magical powers, pleaded for him, her son the initiate, and he was called to judgment before the tribunals of karma. The mighty lords of karma judged him and condemned him to the abyss, to the outer darkness where only crying and the gnashing of teeth are heard. The initiate, full of infinite terror, heard the terrible sentence. The cosmic executioner lifted his sword and directed it towards the frightened brother, who, at that instant, felt something move inside himself. Amazed, he saw an eye of fornication, an entity created by himself in ancient reincarnations, leaving his lunar bodies. That perverse fornicating entity entered the involving infernal worlds. The initiate was then free of those internal bestialities which had tormented him so much. The truth is that the ego is a sum of various, distinct entities. There is no permanent or immutable I. Only the pluralized I, legion of devils, exists within our lunar bodies. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 29. Chapter 11. Kundalini. In Oriental occultism, on the topic of tantric esotericism, there is a lot of material to investigate, study, and analyze. Throughout Asia, there are numerous schools that agree with the virtue of continence and the non-ejaculation of seminal fluid. Some are partisans of the system of celibacy or brahmacharya. Others practice the maithuna, i.e. restrained sexual connection without attachment, but unfortunately, with orgasm and ejaculation of the precious seminal fluid. The legitimate white tantric schools of India, China, Tibet, Japan, etc. teach the sahaja maithuna, sexual magic, without spilling of the seminal liquor. In certain deficient tantric schools of India, the sahaja maithuna, sexual magic, is performed only once in a lifetime under the direction of a guru, who supervises the awakening of the sacred fire and intelligently directs its ascent along the length of the spinal canal with magnetic passes and the laying on of hands. Prior to performing this work of sexual yoga, both the sadhaka and the shakti pass through an intensive preparation in the techniques of hatha yoga, mudras, bandhas, kriyas, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, etc. To these tantric yogis, hatha and raja yoga are intimately related, forming a total unit. All these practices lead the yogi and yogini towards the maithuna, sexual magic. In this act, according to the instructions they have received, they apply the Kechari and Vajroli mudras. Then, having initiated the dance of Shiva and Shakti, the yogi and yogini sit back to back, with their spinal columns touching in order to gain complete mental, respiratory, and emotional control. They then connect sexually, either in Siddhasana or Varasana. Sometimes the yogini is lifted into the air by Vestals so that the yogi can connect with her in Urdhvapadmosa to facilitate Urdhvarita. They must both absorb their own semen, which then rises to the brain. All information coming from the Hindus says that, after attaining the immobility of manas, prana, and apana, the yogi seminizes his brain and definitely raises the kundalini. This Indian practice, however, is only for the Yogavatars. The Karma Kalpa of India teaches all the asanas, sacred postures, of the Maithuna. However, it is obvious that many of these postures are inappropriate for Occidentals and others are too shocking. Normally, the Hindu yogi sits in the style of Buddha, cross-legged, and the yogini sits on his legs with her legs encircling the yogi's body and crossed behind him. Then they connect sexually, with the pair withdrawing before orgasm to avoid seminal ejaculation. During the Middle Ages, many Gnostics practiced the Maithuna with Vestal virgins, calling this marvelous practice virgin subintroductus sexual magic. This was practiced in the form of Kareza, with the Vestals retaining their virginity. This was an excellent practice. The man and the priestess lay on their side making sexual contact. The man introduced his phallus gradually, with extreme caution, at no time penetrating the hymen. With time, the hymen became elastic, enabling deeper penetrations each time. The woman never lost her virginity, she remained a virgin all her life. The man attained realization with her, raising Kundalini through the spinal canal. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 30. In the Maithuna, the man and woman assimilate each other, thus reaching the hermaphroditic divine state of the Elohim, the Teleos Anthropos. The best asana, sacred posture, for the Maithuna is the normal one, breast against breast, face to face, solar plexus against solar plexus, in order to form a perfect androgyny. Later, the man and woman withdraw from the sexual act before orgasm and seminal ejaculation. Pseudo-esoteric and pseudo-occult reactionaries suppose they can awaken Kundalini by means of brahmacharya or forced celibacy. All initiates of authentic mystery schools know, through direct experience, that it is impossible to achieve the awakening and development of the 7 grades of the power of fire without tantric practices. There are 2 types of brahmacharya: sexual abstention, solar and lunar. Solar brahmacharya is obligatory for all those who have already been born in the superior worlds with solar bodies, that is, for those who have left the 9th sphere. Many sincerely mistaken people, by many ignoramuses who have never worked in the 9th sphere, who have not built the solar bodies, who are without inner self-realization, practice lunar brahmacharya. The practice of lunar brahmacharya is harmful to those who have not built the solar bodies, because they become charged with frightfully evil and terrible vibrations. Let us understand that these Venenioskyrian vibrations are the lunar centrifugal sexual forces. This type of tenebrous vibration generally awakens the Kundartigador organ. We must know that when the serpent rushes downward from the coccyx, it is transformed into the tail of Satan, the abominable organ, the Kundartigador. Lunar brahmacharya, with its terrible and evil Venenioskyrian vibrations, creates know-it-all fanatics and extreme cynics. Degenerate infrasexuals hate and condemn Gnostics because we teach the mysteries of sex. They are scandalized by the mysteries of sex, but never by their own lasciviousness, adultery, fornication, etc. Anyone who wants to self-realize without the Maithuna, sexual magic, is a definite candidate for the infernal worlds of the submerged mineral kingdom. There are 3 classes of tantrism: white, black and gray. In white tantrism, ejaculation of the semen is prohibited. In black tantrism, ejaculation of the semen is obligatory. In gray tantrism, ejaculation of the semen is not considered important. In the long run, gray tantrism is transformed into black tantrism. In white tantrism, the serpent ascends along the length of the medulla of the spinal cord. In black tantrism, the serpent descends, projecting itself down from the coccyx towards the atomic infernos of man, becoming Satan's tail. Kundalini has 7 degrees of power of flit. Only by practicing the Maithuna daily over a period of 20 or 30 years can a person achieve the total unfolding of Kundalini. The descending serpent, the Kundartigador organ, develops the inferior chakras of the lower belly and transforms man into a terribly perverse and evil beast. The serpent, ascending through the spinal column, develops all the divine powers of the human being. Devi Kundalini, the igneous serpent of our magical powers, is Isis, Rhea, Cybele, Tonantzin, Mary, etc. The solar bodies are gestated in the womb of Devi Kundalini, the Divine Mother. When the initiate is born from the womb of the Divine Mother in the superior world, when he leaves the ninth sphere, sex, he is forbidden to ever return. There again, the twice-born enter a secret temple, and if they have sex again, they will fall, losing all their powers. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 31. Any initiate who obtains this second birth, of which Jesus spoke to Nicodemus, encounters the problem of disintegrating the ego or pluralized I and eliminating the lunar bodies. If the initiate does not accomplish this, he is transformed into a Hanasmussen with a double center of gravity. The secret master, dressed in his solar bodies, and the pluralized I, dressed in lunar bodies, constitute a double personality, a very serious problem that needs to be resolved. Every Hanasmussen has two personalities, one is solar, one is lunar. The newborn master must eliminate the lunar personality if he does not wish to become a Hanasmussen. One of the most remarkable Hanasmussens is Andramelech. There is Andramelech, the white magician, and Andramelech, the terrible and frightful black magician. Although they are quite distinct and different, they constitute only one individual. It is clear that the tenebrous Andramelech will have to evolve into the submerged mineral kingdom until he becomes dust. Only in that way will the essence, the Buddhata, the soul, be liberated, so it can return to the white Andramelech, the secret master. The newborn master with solar bodies should love, adore, and render homage to his mother Kundalini. Only she can help him eliminate the various entities which together constitute the pluralized I. Every newborn master is subjected to many esoteric tests in the internal worlds. These kinds of tests permit him to know, in depth, all the subconscious, submerged entities which come from his remote past and constitute his pluralized I. Only the Divine Mother can eliminate, from the lunar bodies, those tenebrous entities which personify our secret defects and come from a remote past. The initiate must comprehend deeply, in all levels of the mind, every defect, but it is necessary to know that the mind cannot reduce any defect to cosmic dust. The only thing the mind can do is to control the defects, hiding those defects from itself, passing them from one level to another, etc. The changes obtained by the mind are very superficial, they are useless. We need radical and profound changes that are possible only with the help of Mother Kundalini, the igneous serpent of our magical powers. In the various unconscious and infraconscious levels of the initiate's mind, there are entities that execute actions totally opposite to those actions which he is accustomed to doing. These strange, submerged entities, located within the lunar bodies, are fornicating, adulterous, criminal, and perverse. They are not, however, imprisoned inside these bodies. They can leave or enter the lunar bodies, they can travel and project themselves into the molecular regions of nature. If the initiate is meditating, trying to understand, for example, the defect of lust in order to eliminate it, he can be doing the opposite, fornicating and committing adultery, in the internal worlds. This kind of entity acts in the submerged, subconscious regions in an independent manner, far from our reason and will. However, they are not foreign or strange entities but are myself, oneself. Any newborn master suffers the unspeakable because he cannot control these subconscious parts of himself, these submerged, infraconscious, unconscious entities. His only remedy is to supplicate, ask, and clamor for help from his mother Kundalini, the sacred serpent. There exists a cosmic didactic in the matter of esoteric tests. The initiate is repeatedly subjected to a certain test. If he fails, it is necessary to cry out to beg help from his Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor, 32. Mother Kundalini, praying to the sacred serpent to extricate him, to eliminate from his lunar bodies the psychological I, the psychological entity which personifies that defect, which made him fail the trial. The initiate is subjected to many esoteric tests, some relating to anger, greed, lust, envy, laziness, gluttony, etc., but following a particular order, a special didactic. The initiate is repeatedly placed in different circumstances, situations, and times where he does not remotely remember his esoteric studies or the path. The work of eliminating these entities that constitute the pluralized I is bitterer than gall, and the initiate suffers unspeakably in these tests because in the subconscious, unconscious, and infraconscious regions, he commits fornication, adultery, and other faults, which he would never commit, for any amount of gold, in the physical world. Only his mother Kundalini, only his divine mother, can help the initiate in this work of rejecting submerged entities in the infernal worlds. When the lunar bodies become empty, when the pluralized I does not inhabit them, then the initiate enters into a mystic trance, remaining in the internal worlds for 3 days. During these 3 days, his body remains comatose. When he returns to his physical body, he no longer has lunar bodies but solar bodies. The superior adepts help him get rid of those lunar vehicles, which gradually disintegrate in the molecular world. The initiate, with his solar bodies, is totally self-realized. He is a master of the day, a master of the Manvantara, with power over life and death, with power over all that is, all that has been, and all that will be. Whoever has studied the history of magic knows very well that in all epochs it has been said that all great initiates remain dead for 3 days and resurrect on the 3rd day. In certain secret temples, a spear was put on the mystic's chest and he fell into a trance. For 3 days the body was positioned with the head towards the east, awaiting resurrection. What the initiate learned in the internal worlds during those 3 days corresponds to the mysteries. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor, 33. Chapter 12. Opium, The, and the subconscious. Opium has more than 42 active elements, but chemists know of only 42. L-morphina, 2 protopina, 3 lantopina, 4 porphyroxina, 5 opio-o-nicotina, 6 paramorphina o-tabina, 7 formina o-pseudoformina, 8 metamorphina, 9 noscopina, 10 oilopina, 11 atropina, 12 pyrotina, 13 delterapina, 14 tictutina, 15 colatina, 16 chivatina, 17 zutina, 18 trodopina, 19 laudanina, 20 laudanacina, 21 potatorina, 22 arcadacina, 23 tokitoxina, 24 lictinozina, 25 mecanidina, 26 popoverina, 27 crintonina, 28 cotamina, 29 colaminina, 30 coilinonina, 31 catarnina, 32 hydrocaternina, 33 opion, mecanina, 34 mecanchosina, 35 pistatorina, 36 fictinozina, 37 codeina, 38 nartaina, 39 pseudocodeina. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor, 34. 40 microparaina, 41 microtabina, 42 mesaina. Opium or some of its active elements are usually used by drug addicts and other licentious people to strengthen the bad consequences of the abominable Kundartigador organ, Satan's tail. We need to know that, due to a lamentable mistake committed by certain holy people in the remote past, all humans developed the abominable Kundartigador organ, Satan's tail. Later, those people removed this organ from humanity, intelligently preserving the Sacred fire in the coccygeal chakra, the Church of Ephesus, Muladhara, the magnetic center located in the coccygeal bone at the base of the spine. That legion of devils which each person carries within the lunar bodies constitutes the negative consequences of the Kundartigador organ. Mendeleev listed all the names of the active elements of opium, skillfully classifying them according to their atomic weights. The sacred law of heptaparaparshinok, the law of 7, governs the 7 basic crystallizations of opium. These 7 basic crystallizations correspond to another 7, and those correspond to another 7. There are, in all, 49 crystallizations unknown to conventional science. The 7 independent properties of opium, the 7 fundamental crystallizations, have 7 definite subjective properties corresponding to the 7 subjective states of the human subconscious. The 7 times 7 crystallizations of opium correspond to the 7 times 7 subjective states of opium and to the 7 times 7 subconscious states of the human being. In our past message, 1964-1965, we spoke fully about opium in relation to colors and sounds. Now, we propose to study opium only as it relates to subjective states and the human subconscious. If we wish to destroy the evil consequences of the abominable Kundartigador organ within ourselves, we must first understand that those evil consequences are processed in each of the 49 subconscious states of the human being. Let us note that within these 49 subconscious states of the human being, we include the so-called infraconscious, unconscious, etc. All the devils or small I, which are formed in the 5 cylinders of the human machine, are the miserable consequences of the abominable Kundartigador organ. Let us repeat that the 5 cylinders of the human machine are intellect, emotion, movement, instinct, and sex. Unfortunately for us, the bad consequences of the abominable Kundartigador organ remain in the 5 cylinders. The use of opium by drug addicts and licentious people, unfortunately, strengthens the pitiable consequences of this organ in the 5 cylinders of the human machine. In the 49 levels of the human subconscious live the small I's that together constitute what we call ego, I, me, myself, etc. The atomic material is different in each of the 49 subconscious levels of the human being. The psychological state is distinct in each of the 49 regions or levels of the human subconscious. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor, 35. A defect can disappear from the intellectual region, but that does not mean that the demon, which personifies it, ceases to exist. That demon, together with the defect, which characterizes it, continues as a second unity in the second subconscious region. The defect may disappear from this second region but continue to exist as a third unity in the third subconscious region, and so on. There are 7 primary unities. Within these 7, there are 7 secondary subconscious unities. Within these there exist 7 tertiary independent unities. In all this, there exist processes of mutual relation, mutual influence, etc. This is the reason for the didactic in cosmic trials. If an initiate comes out victorious in a certain test of lust in the physical world, he can fail the same test in the secondary or tertiary subconscious unity. An initiate can be victorious in tests of lust in 48 subconscious regions and fail in the 49th region. The various entities and I's which inhabit the 49 regions corresponding to the 49 subjective states of opium are accustomed to committing crimes which horrify, even when the initiate is a total saint in the physical world. The subconscious entities, the I's which constitute the ego, are real and independent demons who have stolen part of our consciousness and do everything contrary to what we want. If, in the physical world, we decide not to fornicate, then in the other subconscious regions, secondary, tertiary, quaternary, these entities do the exact opposite. They fornicate, even when, as initiates, we have arrived at complete chastity in the physical world. The most serious thing of all is the auto-independent state in which those submerged subconscious eyes act and live, leaving us unable to say, those entities are something strange, distinct. In reality, those entities are myself. Many initiates are victorious in 30 or 40 regions when undergoing trials concerning this or that defect, but in the remaining subconscious regions, they fail lamentably. Clearly, as long as those submerged, subconscious entities continue to exist in the 49 subconscious regions, our defects continue to exist. We must comprehend each defect, not only on the intellectual level, but also in each of the 49 subconscious departments of the mind. Our most serious problem arises when, in spite of having comprehended the defect in all 49 subconscious levels of the mind, we fail when subjected to the trials. The failed trial indicates to us that we still have a defect that we need to annihilate. It is clear that if the I that personifies that defect we wish to disintegrate continues to exist in any of the subconscious regions, the result is failure in all tests. Only Mother Kundalini, the igneous serpent of our magical powers, can help us in that situation, extracting the defect itself, that is to say, the I which personifies it, from our lunar bodies. Without our Divine Mother, it would be impossible to extract from the deep subconscious regions the hidden defects, personified by the small, submerged, sub-conscious eyes. Kundalini is a compound word with two pales. Kunda, which reminds us of the abominable Kundartigador organ, and Lini, which means end. Kundalini means end of the Kundartigador organ. With Kundalini, the terrible consequences of the abominable Kundartigador organ come to an end. We will repeat, the evil consequences of the tenebrous organ are personified by the pluralized I. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 36. Whoever wants to dissolve the pluralized I must abandon self-love and overestimation of self. Those who are overly attached to themselves and like themselves too much will never dissolve the pluralized I. The social interaction of practical life is the perfect mirror in which we are able to discover ourselves. In social interaction, our hidden defects come out spontaneously, and if we are in a state of alertness, then we see them, we discover them. Each hidden defect must be subjected to thorough intellectual analysis. Later, after having profoundly comprehended it, we must investigate and understand it, through meditation, in all the subconscious levels of the mind. Understanding carries the initiate to subconscious regions where he is like a leaf carried by the wind, impotent, incapable of eliminating the discovered defect. Then it is necessary to ask help from Divine Mother Kundalini. Only she can remove from within our subconscious depths the demon, which personifies that defect. She assists us by hurling to the infernal worlds the submerged entity which personifies the defect which we want to reduce to dust. The subconscious submerged entities of our defects are compelled to enter the infernal worlds gradually with Divine Mother Kundalini's help. People covet virtues, without understanding that any kind of covetousness strengthens the pluralized I, and many are those who deceive themselves when they covet not being covetous. Many are those who covet the virtue of gentleness. Those poor people do not want to understand that only by comprehending all the processes of anger in all areas of the subconscious can the virtue of gentleness be born within us. Others covet the virtue of chastity. Those people don't want to understand that only by comprehending the processes of lust in all areas of the subconscious will the virtue of chastity be born. Pride often disguises itself in a tunic of humility, and there are many people who covet humility who do not comprehend that they must dissect pride in all subconscious levels of the mind before the exotic flower of humility will blossom in a natural and simple way. Envy is the secret spring of the whole social machine. Many covet the virtue of enjoying others' well-being, not wanting to understand that only by comprehending the infinite processes of envy in all subconscious areas of the mind can the virtue of enjoying others' well-being be born. Many lazy people covet the virtue of activity, but don't want to perceive that the birth of diligence requires comprehension of the processes of laziness in all levels of the mind. Many gluttons covet continence and temperance, but don't want to realize that only when they comprehend the processes of gluttony in the various corridors and recesses of the mind can eat and drinking moderately be natural and spontaneous. Anger disguises itself in a judge's robe or in a sarcastic smile. There are many people who don't covet money, social position, etc., but who covet virtues, honors, heaven, psychic powers, etc. There are people who are totally chaste on an intellectual level but are awful fornicators. In the various subconscious regions of the mind, fornication generally disguises itself with a compliment to a girl passing by on the street, or with a very serious, gossipy conversation with a person of the opposite sex, or with the pretext of love of beauty, etc. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 37. Many people who don't covet money, social position, posts, honors, or material things envy the saints and covet their virtues so they can also become saints. Some people dress humbly, not doing anything ostentatious, but they have sublime pride, boasting of their simplicity. They hide their pride, not only from others, but also from themselves. Some gluttons disguise their gluttony by looking like simple people who enjoy a Sunday picnic. Others justify their defect by saying they need to eat well in order to work, etc. Each defect is multifaceted, and in the subconscious regions, we find them represented by multiple subjective entities, small eyes, who live within our lunar bodies, projecting themselves into the subconscious levels of the mind. Only with the profound comprehension and the help of Divine Mother Kundalini can we eliminate those eyes of the lunar bodies. The initiate, with the help of the Divine Mother, must eliminate not only the desire, but also the shadow of the desire and even the memory of such a shadow. People confuse passion with love. It is very difficult in life to find a couple who are true lovers. What do exist are couples of passionate people. Passion disguises itself in the clothing of love, speaking of the delights of paradise. Perhaps there are some pairs of true lovers who love and adore each other, but we need to search for them with the lantern of Diogenes. Any passionate person can swear that he is in love and that he loves and then get married, living many years or a whole lifetime convinced he is in love but being totally deceived by the poison of passion. Common people would have difficulty accepting these ideas, but all initiates come to know and understand them when subjected to rigorous trials in the various subconscious levels. The path of light is very narrow, straight, and difficult. For that reason, it is called the path of the razor's edge. In esoteric circles and among the general public, there are many people who study pseudo-occultism, but it is extremely rare to find a serious person who is truly resolved to work on himself in order to achieve inner self-realization. In practice, we have found that the only thing that interests people is having fun, and they make of the work a new form of entertainment. Everywhere there abound fickle people, who today are in one school and tomorrow are in another, who today listen to one lecturer and tomorrow another, who today have enthusiasm for one teaching and tomorrow for another. O fickle people whom we have known have unfortunately wasted their time and died without attaining self-realization. Within the mind, there exists the accumulative center, a center which only wants to accumulate theories, data, diversions, etc. This center is the pluralized I. The various I entities love to accumulate, want to enjoy themselves. When one of these entities becomes enthusiastic about the path of the razor's edge, it is quickly displaced by another that wants nothing to do with the path. Then, we see that person join another school and abandon the path. The pluralized I is the worst enemy of inner self-realization. The most serious problem it presents is subtle self-deception. Whoever abandons the path of the razor's edge firmly believes that he has left error and found the true path. Any Gnostic student who truly wants to acquire a permanent center of consciousness in order to have continuity of purpose and achieve inner self-realization must dissolve the Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 38. Pluralized I and eliminate, from his lunar bodies, the various subconscious and submerged entities being created every moment in the 5 cylinders of his machine. Only by de-egotizing ourselves can we individualizes, and only through possessing a true individuality will we stop behaving like fickle people and acquire seriousness and continuity of purpose. We must abandon the pride that leads us to believe we are saints. In fact, it is very difficult to find a saint in this world. We all have the same defects. Those who don't have a certain defect in one area of their life will have in another. All of us seem to have come from the same mold. Let us not forget the close relationship which exists between the 49 subconscious states of opium and the 49 subjective states of the intellectual animal called man. Nature speaks in all creation, and the 7 times 7 subjective states of opium are also found in human beings. We must reduce the I to dust, but this is possible only on a basis of profound comprehension and with the help of Divine Mother Kundalini, the igneous serpent of our magical powers. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 39. Chapter 13. Buddha's necklace. The Tibetan Book of the Dead says that at the moment of death, the 4 sounds which inspire sacred terror are heard. The sound of the force of the vital element earth is like the sound of a mountain collapsing. The sound of the vital element water is like the sound of ocean waves. The sound of the vital element fire is like that of a burning forest. The sound of the vital element air is like that of 1,000 thunderclaps reverberating simultaneously. The place of refuge when fleeing from these noises is the womb. The ordinary intellectual state of daily life is not everything. The Tibetan Book of the Dead says, "Oh, nobly born, listen with full attention, without being distracted. There are 6 transitory states of Bardo, namely, the natural name of Bardo while in the womb, the Bardo of the dream state, the Bardo of ecstatic equilibrium while in deep meditation, the Bardo of the moment of death, the of reality, the Bardo of the inverse process of samsaric existence." These are the 6. With this exotic term, Bardo, the Tibetan initiates intelligently define those 6 conscious states which are distinct from the ordinary and routine intellectual state of daily life. When a person dies, he must experience 3 bardos: the bardo of the moment of death, the bardo of the experience of reality, the bardo of the quest of rebirth. There are 4 states of matter within which unfold all the mysteries of life and death. There are 4 circles, 4 regions, within which are represented all worlds and time systems of matter in the mineral, cellular, molecular, and electronic states. These are the 4 old worlds: Inferno, Earth, Paradise, and Heaven. All disincarnated people must strive to achieve intermediate liberation, a state similar to Buddha's, the world of free electrons. Intermediate liberation is happiness without limits. Between death and a new birth. In the molecular and electronic regions, there are many nations and kingdoms of great happiness where disincarnated people can be born internally, if the law of karma permits it. Those with good dharma, who have done good works, can give themselves the luxury of a good vacation between death and a new birth. Anyone who has done good works can be miraculously born, before his reincorporation, on earth, in the happy kingdom of the West, at the feet of Amitabha Buddha, among the lotus flowers, or in the kingdom of supreme happiness, or in the kingdom of dense concentration, or in the kingdom of long hair, or in the kingdom of Maitreya, etc. These various kingdoms of the molecular and electronic regions shine with happiness. There are many masters who help deceased people who deserve it. These masters have methods and systems to orient the Buddhata, the essence, the soul, in the work of becoming free, for some time, from the lunar bodies and the ego, in order to enter the kingdoms of the molecular and electronic regions. Sadly, the soul, the essence, must return to the lunar bodies where the ego dwells. This return is inevitable in order to be reborn in the world. Very few are the souls who obtain intermediate liberation, not to be confused with final liberation. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 40. After death, souls can ascend to the kingdoms of happiness of the molecular and electronic worlds, descend to the infernos of the mineral kingdom, or return immediately, or after some time in a body similar to the previous one. These three paths of the fatal bridge of Chinvat are very wisely described, with surprising clarity, in the Zoroastrian legend. All those whose good works exceed their sins by 3 grams go to heaven. Those whose sins are greater go to the inferno. Those in which the two are equal remain in Hamisrikon until they get a future body or until resurrection. The law of karma, that wise law which adjusts effects to causes, gives each person what he deserves after death. Law is law, and the law is fulfilled. Intermediate liberation, happiness in the kingdoms of the molecular and electronic regions, has a limit. When the reward is exhausted, the essence returns to the lunar bodies where the ego dwells. Afterwards comes the return, the reincorporation, the entrance into a new womb. The Tibetan Book of Dead says, "Direct thy wish and enter into the womb. At the same time, emit thy gift waves upon the womb which thou art entering into a celestial mansion." In these times, very few souls enter the various kingdoms of the molecular and electronic regions after death. The ego, over time, has become too complicated and extremely strong. As a result, the essence, the soul, is completely imprisoned within the lunar bodies. In these times of world crisis, most souls are born in the inferno, mineral kingdom, and do not return, or they reincarnate immediately without ascending to the kingdom of the gods. The great law gives each human being only 108 lives, and this reminds us of Buddha's necklace with its 108 beads. If a person does not know how to take advantage of the 108 beads of Buddha's necklace, if he does not achieve self-realization in those 108 lives, then he is born in the infernal worlds of nature. Normally, when their time is up, all humans descend to the infernal worlds. Many prophets, avatars, and saviors, understanding the terrors of the abyss, have come to this world, wanting to save us, but humanity does not like avatars or saviors. Humanity is not interested in salvation. Inner self-realization is possible only on a basis of tremendous effort, and humanity does not like to make super efforts. People say, "Let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we will die." Inner self-realization is never the result of a mechanical process, even if it is evolutionary. The law of evolution and its twin sister, the law of involution, are purely mechanical laws of nature, which do not lead to self-realization. Whoever wants to self-realize must put himself on the path of the razor's edge, on the difficult path of the revolution of consciousness. This path is bitterer than bile. Nobody likes this path. It is necessary that the secret master be born in us. It is necessary to die. The ego must die. It is necessary to sacrifice ourselves for humanity. That is the law of the solar logos. Who sacrifices himself, crucifying himself in the worlds, so that all beings may have life. And have it in abundance. To be born is a sexual problem. To die is a matter of dissolving the ego. Sacrifice for humanity is love. People don't like the idea of remaining in the ninth sphere for 20. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor, 41 or 30 years for the right to be born in the superior worlds. They do not like dying. Dissolving the beloved ego. They do not like sacrificing for humanity. Inner self. Realization is of no interest to humanity, and clearly, nobody can be given what they do not want. What interests people is obtaining money, eating, drinking, reproducing, and enjoying themselves, having power and prestige. This explains why so few people are saved. Many are called and few are chosen. The world abounds with people who apparently want self-realization so they may have the right to enter the kingdom of esotericism, but deep down, they only want to entertain themselves with these studies, that is all. These people are fluttering around. They are in one school today and in another tomorrow. They do not know the path, and if they encounter it, they are very enthusiastic in the beginning, but later when they see that the work is serious, they become frightened and flee, searching for a refuge in another school. The line of life is spiral, and humanity is descending in each reincarnation by a winding staircase until it reaches the infernal worlds of the mineral kingdom. In the inferno, mineral kingdom, time is 10 times longer, 10 times slower, and terribly boring. Each 100 years there makes a payment on our karmic debt. The descent to the infernal worlds is a backward trip, involving in time, retrogressing, passing through the animal, vegetable, and mineral states. On arriving at a fossilized state, the ego and the lunar bodies become cosmic dust. When the ego and the lunar bodies become dust in the inferno, the soul is set free, returns to primitive chaos, and is prepared to evolve anew, ascending through several eternities through the mineral, vegetable, and animal states until attaining the human state once again. Whoever does not take advantage of their 108 lives, represented by the 108 beads of Buddha's necklace, is born in the infernal worlds. This is the Hindu Naraka, located below the earth and the waters. This is the Babylonian Erilu, the land of no return, the region of dense obscurity, the house whose inhabitants do not see the light, the region where dust is their bread and mud is their food. This is the crucible of the foundry where the rigid forms, the lunar bodies, and the ego must be melted, reduced to dust in order to free the soul. How long the soul remains in the infernal worlds depends on its karma. Obviously, those black magicians who have developed a Kundartigador organ and the chakras of the lower belly, the Lucifers, the Anagarikas, the Arimans, live entire eternities, complete Manvantaras, in those infernal regions before being reduced to cosmic dust. Ordinary people, everyday people who do not self-realize because they had no interest in self-realization, but were not decidedly perverse, remain only 800 to 1,000 years in the infernal worlds. The greatest punishments are for those who dishonor the gods, for the fallen bodhisattvas, for Hanasmussins with a double center of gravity, for the patricides and matricides, for assassins and warlords, for masters of black magic. The Tibetan Book of Dead says, on falling here, you must undergo unbearable suffering, and there is no definite time when you may escape. Not only do the decidedly perverse enter the infernal worlds, but also those who have already lived their 108 lives without reaching self-realization. Every tree which bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 42. Theosophists say that there are 3 paths to perfection, and Annie Besant wrote about these 3 paths. These paths are called Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. Karma Yoga is the path of right action, Jnana Yoga is the path of the mind, Bhakti Yoga is the path of devotion. With Karma Yoga, we live righteously, reaping a lot of dharma, reward, but not building the solar bodies because the latter is a sexual matter. In Jnana Yoga, we become strong in meditation and yoga, but we do not build solar bodies because this requires work with sexual hydrogen Si-12. In Bhakti Yoga, we follow a devotional path and reach ecstasy. But we do not build solar bodies. There are schools that affirm the existence of 7 paths, there are schools that say there are 12 paths. Jesus Christ said, "Enter ye the strait gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because strait is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be which find it." The Master of Masters never said that there are 3 gates or paths. He spoke of only 1 gate and 1 path. Where did they get the idea of 3 paths to liberation? Where did other schools get the idea about 7 gates or paths to liberation? Where did other pseudo-occult and pseudo-esoteric organizations get their ideas about 12 paths? In reality, only 1 road and 1 gate exist. No human being knows more than the Christ. And he never spoke of 3, 7, or 12 paths. The path has much of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and of the 7 yogas, but only 1 path exists, narrow, straight, and terribly difficult. The path is different, it is opposed to the routine of daily life. The path is 100% revolutionary. It is against everything and everyone. The path is bitterer than bile. The path is the revolution of consciousness by means of the 3 factors, birth, death, and sacrifice for humanity. On the path, the poor intellectual animal must transform himself into a different being. Those who find the path are very rare. Even more rare are those who don't abandon the path. Truthfully, not all human beings can develop themselves and become different. This may appear to be an injustice, but it is not. People do not want to be different. They are not interested. People should not be given what they do not want, what they do not desire, what does not interest them. Why should human beings have what they do not want? If the poor intellectual animal, mistakenly called man, was forced to transform himself into a different being when he is satisfied with himself as he is, then this would, in fact, be a great injustice. It is evident that everything in nature is subjected to the law of number, measurement, and weight. Each human has 108 lives, and if he doesn't know how to take advantage of them, time runs out and his entry into the infernal worlds becomes inevitable. Inner cell realization of the human being can never be the result of the mechanical evolution of nature, but is the fruit of tremendous efforts, and humanity does not like to make super efforts. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 43. Chapter 14. Gnosis. Let us now study a chapter of the Chinese Gospel called the Tao, to clarify once again our Gnostic doctrine. Cha Sang-su sent a company of 100,000 men to hunt for the central mountain range. With flints, they lit a bonfire, which extended through the whole forest, and the glow of the flames could be seen from 100 kilometers away. Suddenly, a man appeared, who, stepping out of the flames, could be seen in the smoke. Everyone thought he was a spirit, but when the fire went out, he left quickly without showing the least sign of being burned. Sang-su, amazed by this, detained him in order to examine him carefully. His bodily form was undoubtedly that of a man, and he had 5 senses, breathed as a man, and had a human voice. The prince asked him what strange power permitted him to walk over precipices and through flames. What do you think a rock is? What do you think fire is? Asked the man. Where do you come from and where have you been? Asked Sang Soo. I know nothing about that, answered the man. The incident reached the ears of the Marquis Wen of the state of Wei, who spoke to Su Sha about him. What an extraordinary man he must be. I have heard the master talk about that, replied Su Sha. The man who is in harmony with the Tao enters into intimate communion with external objects and none of them can cause him any harm. He can pass through metal and solid rock, pass through fire or walk on water. It is possible for him to do all things. Why is it, my friend, that you can't do that? Asked the Marquis. I have not yet finished cleansing my heart of impurities and false wisdom, responded Su Sha. I only get enjoyment from discussing the matter. And why, asked the Marquis, does the master not do the same? The master can do these things, but can also abstain from doing them, replied Su Sha. This reply enchanted the Marquis. It is necessary to light the sacred fire in the central mountain range, that is to say, in the spinal column. Mother Kundalini confers on the initiate extraordinary powers over flaming fire, air, water, and earth. What do you think a rock is? This reminds us of the philosophical stone of the old medieval alchemists. This reminds us of Peter's doctrine. Petrus or Peter means rock, and he was one of the 12 apostles of Christ, whose birth we are celebrating this Christmas night. The doctrine of Peter is the doctrine of sex, the science of Maithuna, sexual magic. The living stone is sex, the rock on which we must raise the interior temple for the inner Christ, our Lord. And Peter said, Behold, I lay in Sion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he that believeth on him shall not be confounded. Unto you therefore, which believe he is precious, but unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders disallowed. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 44. The same is made the head of the corner, and a stone of stumbling, and a rock of offense. Whoever lights the fire in the central mountain range, spinal column, erects the temple, builds the solar bodies, and enters into harmony with the Tao, incarnates his being. Jesus Christ, whose birth we celebrate tonight, said, Therefore whosoever heareth these sayings of mine, and doth them, I will liken him to a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. Sex, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds flew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. Sex. And every one that heareth these sayings of mine, and doth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon sand. Theories and practices of all kinds, which exclude the Maithuna, sexual magic, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it, falling into the abyss. Millions of people build on the sand and hate the Maithuna, sexual magic. They do not want to build on the rock, on the stone, sex, they build on the sand of their theories, schools, etc., believing that all is going well. These poor people are sincerely mistaken, and have good intentions, but they will fall into the abyss. Everyone who is born in the superior worlds must reduce the ego to dust in order to be free of the lunar bodies and exercise all the priestly powers of high magic. The Master, who has neither dissolved the pluralized I, nor eliminated the lunar body, cannot yet exercise priestly power. This is because he has not cleansed his heart of impurities and false knowledge. Jesus said to his disciples, When I shall have gone into the light, then herald it unto the whole world, and say unto them, Cease not to seek day and night, and remit not yourselves until ye find the mysteries of the light kingdom, which will purify you and make you into refined light, and lead you into the light kingdom. What men should renounce? Say unto them, Renounce the whole world and the whole matter therein and all its cares. and all its sins, in a word, all its associations which are in it, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of light and be saved from all the chastisements which are in the judgments. Say unto them, renounce murmuring, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the fire of the dog-faced one. Say unto them, renounce litigiousness, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the chastisements of Ariel. Say unto them, renounce false slander, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the fire rivers of the dog-faced one. Say unto them, renounce false witness, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and that ye may escape and be saved from the fire rivers of the dog-faced ones. Say unto them, renounce pride and haughtiness, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the fire pits of Ariel. Say unto them, renounce belly love, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the judgments of Amente, mineral kingdom. Say unto them, renounce babbling, intellectual chatter without spirituality, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from Amente. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 45. Say unto them, renounce craftiness, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light, and be saved from the chastisements which are in Amente. Say unto them, renounce avarice, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the fire rivers of the dog-faced. Say unto them, renounce pillage, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the fire rivers of Mel. Say unto them, renounce evil conversation, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the chastisements of the fire rivers. Say unto them, renounce wickedness, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the fire seas of Ariel. Say unto them, renounce pitilessness, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the judgments of the dragon-faced. Say unto them, renounce wrath, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the fire rivers of the dragon-faced. Say unto them, renounce fighting and strife, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the seething rivers of Yaldabaoth. Say unto them, renounce all unknowing, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the servitors of Yaldabaoth and the fire seas. Say unto them, renounce evil doing, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from all the demons of Yaldabaoth and all his judgments. Say unto them, renounce adultery, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light kingdom and be saved from the sulfur and pitch seas of the lion-faced. Say unto them, renounce murder, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the crocodile-faced ruler. This one who is in cold is the first chamber of the outer darkness. Say unto them, renounce pitilessness and impiety, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the rulers of the outer darkness. Say unto them, renounce atheism, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the howling and grinding of teeth. Say unto them, renounce magic, potions, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the great cold and the hail of the outer darkness. Say unto them, renounce blasphemy, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and be saved from the great dragon of the outer darkness. Say unto those who teach the doctrines of error and to every one who is instructed by them, woe unto you! For, ye do not repent and abandon your error, ye will go into the chastisements of the great dragon and of the outer darkness, which is exceedingly evil. And never will ye be cast up into the world, but will be non-existent until the end. You will enter the land of no return, the infernal worlds. Say unto those who abandon the doctrines of truth of the first mystery, woe unto you, for your chastisement is sad compared with that of all men. For ye will abide in the great cold and ice and hail in the midst of the dragon and of the outer darkness, and ye will never from this hour on be cast into the world, but ye shall be frozen up in that region, and at then dissolution of the universe ye will perish and become non-existent eternally, until you will be reduced to dust in the infernal worlds, the mineral kingdom, the boundaries of the ways of the worthy. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 46. Say rather to the men of the world, be calm, that ye may receive the mysteries of the light and go on high into the light kingdom. Say unto them, be ye loving unto men, that ye may be worthy of the mysteries of the light and go on high into the light kingdom. Say unto them, be ye gentle, that ye may receive the mysteries of the light and go on high into the light kingdom. Say unto them, give ye alms, that ye may receive the mysteries of the light and go high into the light kingdom. Say unto them, minister unto the poor and the sick and distressed, that ye may receive the mysteries of the light and go on high into the light kingdom. Say unto them, be ye loving unto God, that ye may receive the mysteries of the light and go on high into the light kingdom. Say unto them, be ye righteous, that ye may receive the mysteries of the light and go on high into the light kingdom. Say unto them, renounce all, that ye may receive the mysteries of the light and go on high into the light kingdom. These acts all the boundaries of the ways for those who are worthy of the mysteries of the light, unto whom are the mysteries of the light to be given. Unto such, therefore, who have renounced in this renunciation, give the mysteries of the light and hide them not from them at all, even though they are sinners and they have been in all the sins and all the iniquities of the world, all of which I have recounted unto you, in order that they may turn and repent and be in the submission which I have just recounted unto you. Give unto them the mysteries of the light kingdom and hide them not from them at all. For it is because of sinfulness that I have brought the mysteries into the world, that I may forgive all their sins which they have committed from the beginning on. The mysteries are for the forgiveness of sins. For this cause have I said unto yon, I am not come to call the righteous now, therefore, I have brought the mysteries that their sins may be forgiven for every one and they be received into the light kingdom. For the mysteries are the gifts of the first mystery, that he may wipe out the sins and iniquities of all sinners. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 47. Chapter 15. Division of Attention. Whoever has studied our Gnostic teachings or this Christmas message, and as a result has become truly interested in the path of the razor's edge and inner self-realization of the being, will long to see, hear, smell, touch, and feel the great realities of the superior worlds. All human beings can arrive at the experience of reality. All human beings have a right to the great experiences of the spirit, to know the kingdoms and nations of the molecular and electronic regions. Each aspirant has the right to study at the feet of the Master, to enter through the splendid doors of the temples of major mysteries, to converse face to face with the radiant sons of the aurora of the Manvantara of creation. One has to begin, however, by awakening consciousness. It is impossible for the aspirant to be awake in the superior worlds if here in the cellular, physical, material world, he is asleep. Whoever wants to awaken consciousness in the internal worlds must awaken here and now in this dense world. If the aspirant has not awakened consciousness here in the physical world, there is much less chance that he will awaken in the superior worlds. Whoever awakens consciousness here and now awakens everywhere. Whoever awakens consciousness here in the physical world will definitely remain awake in the superior worlds. The first necessity, if one is to awaken consciousness, is to know that one is asleep. Understanding that we are asleep is difficult because normally, everybody is completely convinced that they are awake. When a person understands that he is asleep, the process of self-awakening begins. What we are saying is not something people readily accept. If we tell an intellectual that he is asleep, he will certainly be offended. People are fully convinced that they are awake. People work while asleep, dreaming. They drive cars while asleep, dreaming. They get married while asleep, and they live while sleeping, dreaming. Nevertheless, they are totally convinced that they are awake. Whoever wants to awaken consciousness here and now should begin to comprehend the three subconscious factors called identification, fascination, and sleep. All types of identification produce fascination and sleep. While walking down a street, you suddenly meet with a crowd protesting something in front of the president's palace. If not in a state of alertness, you will identify with the demonstrators, join the crowd, and become fascinated. Later you fall asleep, you shout, throw stones, and do things that, in other circumstances, you wouldn't do, not even for $1 million. Forgetting oneself is an error with incalculable consequences. To identify with anything is the height of stupidity because fascination and sleep are the result. It is impossible for someone to awaken consciousness if he forgets himself, if he identifies with anything. It is impossible for the aspirant to awaken consciousness if he allows himself to become fascinated, to fall asleep. A boxer exchanging punches with another boxer is sleeping deeply, is dreaming, is totally identified with the event, is fascinated. If he were to awaken consciousness, he would look in all directions and immediately flee from the ring, wholly ashamed of himself and of the spectators. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 48. You are traveling rapidly by urban transit, planning to get off at a certain street. Suddenly, the memory of a loved one comes to mind. You identify with that memory, become fascinated, and later have a waking dream. Suddenly, you cry, "Oh, no! Where am I? I have passed my stop. I should have got off at that corner, at that street." Later, you realize that your consciousness had been absent. You get off the vehicle and walk back to the corner where you should have left the bus. Whoever wants to awaken consciousness should begin by dividing their attention into three parts: subject, object, location. Subject, inner remembrance of oneself from moment to moment. Do not forget yourself when confronted by any mental images or by any event. Object, do not identify with anything, with any circumstance. Observe without identifying, without forgetting your own self. Location, ask yourself, what place is this? Observe the place in detail, asking yourself, why am I in this place? The division of attention into three parts leads the aspirant towards the awakening of consciousness. Wanting to experience the great realities of the superior worlds without awakening consciousness here and now is to walk a path of error. The awakening of consciousness initiates the development of the spatial sense and the experience of that which is real. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 49. Chapter 16. Inner Self-Remembering. It may seem incredible, but when the student observes himself, he does not remember himself. Aspirants, without a doubt, do not feel themselves. They are not conscious of themselves. Improbable as it may seem, when the Gnostic aspirant observes his way of laughing, speaking, walking, etc., he forgets himself. This is incredible, but true. It is essential, however, to try to remember ourselves while observing ourselves. This is fundamental if we wish to awaken our consciousness. To observe and to know ourselves without forgetting ourselves is terribly difficult, but is urgent if we wish to awaken our consciousness. What we are saying seems foolish. People ignore the fact that they are asleep and that they don't remember themselves even when they are looking at their whole body in a mirror, not even while observing themselves in minute detail. This forgetting of self, this lack of self-remembering, is really the causa causorum of all human ignorance. When a person arrives at a deep understanding that he cannot remember himself, then he is very close to awakening consciousness. We need to think seriously about this. What we are saying here is of great importance, and we cannot comprehend it if we read it mechanically. Our readers must think about this. People are unable to feel their own I while self-observing. They are unable to pass it from one sender to another, etc. In order to awaken consciousness, we must observe the way we speak, laugh, walk, etc., without forgetting ourselves, and while feeling the I inside. This is a difficult but fundamental step. The great master Ouspensky said, "When I made the effort to be conscious of my being, to be conscious of myself as I, to tell myself, I am walking, I am doing, to try to keep alive this feeling of I, to feel it within, these efforts produced the first impression that thoughts remained asleep when I grasped the I, that I could not think or speak, and that even the intensity of emotions diminished. Besides, I could stay in that state for only a very short time. We must dissolve the pluralized I, return it to dust, but we must know it. We must study it. In the 49 subconscious levels, symbolized for Gnostics by the 49 demons of Yaldabaoth, if a doctor wishes to remove a cancerous tumor, he must first diagnose it correctly. If a person wishes to dissolve the I, he must study it, become conscious of it, must know it. In the 49 subconscious levels, during inner self-remembering, during the tremendous effort to be conscious of one's I, one's attention is obviously divided. Here, we return once again to the division of attention. One part of our attention must be directed, although it seems scarcely logical, towards the effort, and the other part towards the ego, the pluralized I. Inner self-remembering is more than self-analysis. It is a new state that can only be known through direct experience. Every human being has had moments like this time of inner self-remembering, perhaps in an instant of infinite terror, possibly in childhood or on some trip when we exclaim, "And what am I doing here? Why am I here?" Simultaneous self-observation and inner Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 50. Remembering of one's own I is terribly difficult, but it is, nevertheless, indispensable if one is to truly know oneself. During meditation, the pluralized I always does the opposite, what we do. It enjoys fornicating when we try to comprehend lust. It creates thunder and lightning in any of the 49 subconscious levels of Yaldabaoth when we try to comprehend anger. It covets not being covetous when we wish to reduce covetousness to dust. Inner self-remembering is the complete awareness of the entire subconscious processes in oneself, of the ego, of the pluralized I, observing how we think, speak, laugh, walk, eat, feel, etc., without forgetting ourselves. Without forgetting the intimate processes of the ego, always remembering what is occurring deep inside in the 49 subconscious levels of Yaldabaoth. This is frightful, difficult, but fundamental, nevertheless, to the awakening of consciousness. Self-observation or inner self-remembering initiates the development of our spatial sense, which becomes fully mature with the awakening of our consciousness. The chakras mentioned by Mr. Leadbeater and many other authors relate to the spatial sense in the same way as flowers relate to the tree, which gives them life. What is important is the tree. The spatial sense is the awakened consciousness functioning. Normally, all truly awakened people can see, hear, touch, smell, and taste everything that happens in the 49 subconscious levels of Yaldabaoth. Any truly awakened person can verify for himself, through direct experience, the dreams of other people, and of all creatures. He can see the dreams of people as they walk down the streets, as they work in factories, as they govern people, etc. All truly awakened people can see, smell, touch, and taste all things in the superior worlds. Whoever wants to experience the reality of everything that happens in the superior dimensions of space must awaken consciousness here and now. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 51. Chapter 17. Science of Meditation. The void is very difficult to explain because it is indefinable and indescribable. The void cannot be described in human words because the vain languages that exist on earth can only designate things and feelings which already exist. We don't exaggerate when we say that human languages do not adequately express things and sentiments that are non-existent but nevertheless quite real. To try to define the illuminating void with a language whose field is limited by the forms of existence is, without doubt, foolish and mistaken. It is necessary to know and experience the illuminated aspect of consciousness in a living way. It is important to feel and experience the void aspect of the mind. There are two types of illumination. The first is commonly called dead water because it has attachments. The second is praised as the great life because it is illumination without attachments. It is the illuminating void. In this, there are many degrees, many steps. It is necessary to arrive first at the illuminated aspect of consciousness and later, at objective knowledge, at the illuminating void. Buddhism says, form does not differ from the void, and the void does not differ from form. Form is the void and the void is form. Things exist because the void exists, and because things exist, they are the void. Void is a clear and precise term which describes the non-substantial and non-personal nature of beings and is an indication, a sign of the complete absence of the pluralized I. Only when there is a complete absence of the I can we experience what is real, that which is not of time, that which transforms radically. The void and existence complement each other, embrace each other, include each other. They are never exclusive, they never negate each other. Ordinary people whose consciousness is asleep perceive angles, lines, and surfaces subjectively, but never the complete bodies from inside and outside, from the top and from the bottom, from the front and from the back, etc. They can perceive the void aspect of things even less. The person who has awakened his consciousness and who has an empty, illuminated mind has eliminated all subjective elements from his perceptions, and he perceives complete bodies, perceives the void aspect of each thing. This is the non-discriminative doctrine of the middle path, the unification of the void and existence. The void is that which has no name, that which is real, that which is the truth, that which some call the Tao, others Yin, others Zen, Allah, Brahma, or God. The name is of no importance. Someone who awakens his consciousness experiences the tremendous truth that he is no longer a slave and, with pain, is able to verify that people walking down the street are dreaming and appear as true walking cadavers. If this awakening of consciousness becomes continuous by means of inner self remembering from moment to moment, then one arrives at objective consciousness, at pure consciousness, at the void aspect of mind. The illuminated consciousness is Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 52. Necessary to experience what is real and reduce the pluralized ego cosmic dust, but this state is still on the edge of samsara, the painful world in which we live. When he is in a state of awakened consciousness, the initiate has taken a formidable step, but unfortunately is still troubled by the monistic idea. He is incapable of cutting all those subtle threads which link him to certain things, to certain damaging effects. He has not arrived at the other shore. When the initiate cuts the ties which, in one form or another, bind him to the illuminated consciousness, he arrives at perfect illumination, at the illuminating void, free and entirely without any substance. It is extremely difficult, but not impossible, to reach the exact center of the mind, to arrive at the illuminating void, to acquire objective knowledge. Any Gnostic can achieve it if he works on himself. The illuminating void is not nothingness. The illuminating void is free life in movement. The void is that which is, always has been, and always will be. The void is beyond time and eternity. The mind has 300,000 receptive clans or centers, all of which should vibrate at the same tone without any effort. The mind is feminine in nature and is therefore accustomed to receive, assimilate, and comprehend. The natural state of the mind is receptive, silent, and quiet like a deep, tranquil ocean. The thinking process is an abnormal accident, whose original cause is the pluralized I. When the mind is free from all thoughts and is silent, the 300,000 clans then vibrate at the same tone, without any effort. When the mind is silent, the new, that which is real, comes to us. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 53. Chapter 18. The Chinese Master, Wu Wen. The great master, Wu Wen, began his meditation practices under the wise direction of Master Tuo Weng. His first work of meditation was accomplished with the following koan or mysterious saying, "It is not the mind, it is not the Buddha, it is nothing." Wu Wen, seated in the Oriental style, concentrated his mind on this saying, trying to understand its deep significance. This koan, or enigmatic statement, is difficult to comprehend, and after we meditate on it, with the earnest goal of experiencing the truth enclosed in each word of the mysterious saying, it is evident that the mind, unable to grasp its significance, is conquered and falls. As if fatally wounded, then it resigns, remaining quiet and silent. Master Wu Wen was happy to meet young Feng and Yu Shan, as well as some other brothers, and they all made an agreement to work to achieve illumination. After some time, Wu Wen went to Master Wai Shi, who taught him to meditate using the sacred mantra Wu. This mantra is chanted mentally with the letter U repeated twice. U, U, extending the vowel sound, as if imitating the sound of the hurricane howling through a mountain ravine or the terrible crash of waves against the beach. This mantra is chanted mentally when we practice meditation, in order to clear the mind of all kinds of thoughts, desires, memories, preoccupations, etc., so that we can have a quiet and silent mind. He then went to practice meditation with Chang Lu, his companion, who longed for illumination. When Wu Wen became acquainted with Qin from Wai Shang, Qin asked him, "You have been practicing for 6 or 7 years now. What have you succeeded in understanding?" Wu Wen replied, "Every day, I have the impression that there is nothing in my mind." This was a wise response. Already, Wu Wen had the impression that there was nothing in his mind. His mind began to remain empty. The battle of thoughts was coming to an end. Wu Wen advanced remarkably well, but something was missing. Qin, therefore, said to him, "You can practice in stillness, but you lose the practice in the midst of activity." This remark disturbed Wu Wen a lot, since it pinpointed his weak area. To be able to have the mind quiet and in silence, empty of all kinds of thoughts, even when hungry or thirsty, even when bitten by mosquitoes or when people are very noisy nearby, this is very difficult, and Wu Wen couldn't do this. He was able to meditate in quiet but not in the midst of activity, that is to say, with all those inconveniences. "What must I do?" Wu Wen asked Qin. He answered, "Have you never heard what Chung Lao Zi says? If you want to understand this, face south and contemplate Ursa." Minor, enigmatic words, exotic words, mysterious, difficult to understand, and, most important, no explanation was given. Having said this, Qin left. Wu Wen remained greatly preoccupied. He quit his practice with the mantra, Wu, for a week and concentrated his mind, striving to understand totally what Qin meant by face south and contemplate Ursa Minor. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 54. He only understood when the monks who accompanied him in the meditation hall left the area and went to the dining room. Then, Wu Wen continued his meditation in the hall and forgot his dinner. The dinner hour arrived, but he nevertheless continued to meditate. This inadvertent missing of a meal was certainly decisive for Wu Wen because he then understood the significance of meditating in activity. Wu Wen relates that precisely in those moments, his mind became luminous, empty, light, and transparent. His human thoughts were broken up into pieces like little pieces of dry skin. He felt himself being submerged in the void. Half an hour later, when he returned to his body, he found it bathed in sweat. Then he understood the suggestion of facing the south and seeing Ursa Minor. He learned to face Ursa Minor in meditation, that is to say, to face hunger, disturbances, and all kinds of factors harmful to meditation. From that moment, no noise, mosquito bites, hunger pangs, heat, or cold could prevent his perfect concentration of thought. Later, when he again visited Qin, he could answer with complete exactness all the questions Qin formulated. It is painful to say, however, that Wu Wen was still not sufficiently unattached to achieve the state of making a leap forward. Time passed. Wu Wen went to visit Shan Yen in the mountains for the summer. He relates that during meditation, mosquitoes bit him terribly, without mercy, but he had learned to confront Ursa Minor, obstacles, inconveniences, hunger, mosquitoes, etc. Then he thought, if the old ones sacrificed their bodies for the Dharma, why do I fear mosquitoes? Conscious of this, he decided to tolerate all the stings patiently, with tightly closed fists and compressed jaws. Tolerating the horrible mosquito bites, he concentrated his mind on the mantra Wu. Wu Wen chanted the mantra Wu with Yu. He imitated the sound of the wind in a mountain ravine and the sound of the sea crashing against the beach. Wu Wen knew how to intelligently combine meditation and sleep. Wu Wen vocalized his mantra mentally and thought of nothing. Whenever some desire, memory, or thought sprang up in his mind, he did not reject it but studied, analyzed, and comprehended it in all levels of the mind, later forgetting it totally and definitely. Wu Wen chanted his mantra continuously, desiring nothing and thinking nothing. Whatever desires or thoughts surfaced in his mind were duly comprehended and later forgotten. The repetition of the mantra was not interrupted. The mosquitoes and their stings were no longer important. Suddenly, something transcendental occurred. He felt his body and mind collapsing like the four walls of a house. He had reached the state of the illuminating void, pure, perfect, free of any attributes. He had sat down to meditate in the morning, and only when it was late did he get up. It is possible to meditate while sitting in the Oriental style, with legs crossed as Buddha did, or in the Occidental manner in a more comfortable position, or lying down with arms and legs spread to the left and right like a five-pointed star with our body relaxed. Since Wu Wen was Oriental, however, he preferred to sit in the Oriental style of Buddha. At that point, the great Chinese master, Wu Wen, had experienced the illuminating void. But still something was missing. He had not arrived at full maturity. He had erroneous and ignored thoughts, which continued to exist secretly. Small tempting demons, small subconscious eyes, residues still living in the 49 subconscious regions of Yaldabaoth. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 55. After his experience of the illuminating void, Wu Wen went to the mountain of Wang Chao and meditated there for 6 years. Later, he meditated 6 more years at the mountain of Luhan, and after that, 3 more years in Guangzhou. At the end of all These efforts, and after much suffering, Master Wu Wen attained ultimate illumination. Master Wu Wen was a true athlete of meditation. During his practices, he understood that all mental effort creates intellectual tension, and that this obstructs illumination because it harms meditation. Master Wu Wen never divided himself between a superior I and an inferior I, because he comprehended that superior and inferior are the two parts of one thing. Master Wu Wen felt himself to be neither a god nor a diva, in the manner of mythomaniacs, but a wretched pluralized I, who was prepared to die in himself more each time. Master Wu Wen did not divide himself into I and my thoughts, for he understood that my thoughts and I are the whole I, and that it is necessary to have integrity to achieve perfect meditation. During meditation, Master Wu Wen was in a whole, receptive, and very humble state. With a quiet and profoundly silent mind, without making any kind of effort, without mental tension, without any desire to be something more, because he knew very well that the I is that which it is and can never be something more than it is. Under these conditions, all 300,000 centers of Master Wu Wen's mental body vibrated intensely with the same tone, without any effort obtaining and receiving love and wisdom. When Wu Wen was in meditation rooms and lumigels, all the monks received great benefit from the potent vibrations of his luminous aura. He already possessed the superior existential bodies of his being, the solar bodies. He still needed, however, to dissolve the I and attain final illumination, which he achieved after much suffering. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 56. Chapter 19. The Venustic Initiation. The Gnostic initiation is for real men only, never for intellectual animals. Let us understand that by real men, we mean those who have built their solar bodies. Let us understand that by intellectual animals, we mean all of humanity, all those who possess only lunar bodies. The Gnostic initiation is the real Christmas of the tranquil heart. It is for the few, it is by the grace of the solar logos. In nirvana, there exist many Buddhas who, despite their great perfection, have never attained the Gnostic initiation. The law of the solar logos is sacrifice for humanity. He sacrifices himself from the dawn of life, crucifying himself in all worlds, on each new planet which comes into existence, so that all beings may have life and have it in abundance. Rare is he who receives the Gnostic initiation. It is a very special grace. One must previously have sacrificed oneself for humanity. Annie Besant committed an error in supposing, and even affirming, that the intimus Christ, the child God, the Savior, incarnates in the human being when he obtains the first initiation of major mysteries. She wanted to see, in the first 5 initiations of major mysteries, the whole cosmic drama, i.e. birth, growth, death, and resurrection of the Christ. She made the mistake of confusing the 5 initiations of fire with the Gnostic initiation. We must know that the Christ cannot incarnate in the intellectual animal. We must understand that the Christ, the Lord, can incarnate only in real men, and that it is impossible for anyone to attain this level of authentic man without having previously passed through the 5 initiations of major mysteries. Only after passing through the 5 initiations of major mysteries, only as a grace, and only after previous sacrifice for humanity, can the Christ incarnate in us. As above, so it is below. On initiating the aurora of creation, the sexual fire of the 3rd Logos fecundates the womb of the Great Mother, the primordial substance. The 2nd Logos, the cosmic Christ, accomplishes the 2nd part by incarnating in any worlds that are born so that all beings may have life and have it abundantly. This event is repeated in the microcosmos, man. The first to intervene is the third logos, fecundating the chaotic matter contained in the semen and in the spinal column, fecundating the Divine Mother, the Akashic principle, so that the interior universe, the solar bodies, can be born. Later, the second logos is born within the superior existential bodies of the being in order to labor in the great work of the Father. As above, so it is below. As it is below, so it is above. The cosmic events which unfold in the solar systems are repeated in the atom. The great events which take place in the genesis of any galaxy are also repeated in the microcosmos, man. It is necessary first to work with the fire and later with the light. It is indispensable to work first with the third logos in the ninth sphere and later with the second logos. The first 5 initiations of major mysteries are a microcosmic cosmogenesis. The fire fecundates the chaotic matter of the Divine Mother to give birth to the solar bodies. Later comes the intervention of the second logos, the Weor.Gnostic initiations, after sacrifice for humanity. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor, 57. We must understand that the Weor.Gnostic initiation has 7 esoteric grades. First, birth in the world stable. The intimus Christ is always born full of love for humanity in that interior stable we carry within ourselves, inhabited, unfortunately, by the animals of passions, by the pluralized I. Second, baptism of the initiate in the etheric world, Christification of the vital body. Third, transfiguration of the Lord. The intimus Christ glows in the head and in the sidereal face of the astral body of the initiate, as the face of Moses glowed on Mount Nebo. Fourth, entry into Jerusalem among palms and festivity, Christification of the mental body of the initiate. Fifth, the sacred shroud of Veronica on which remains engraved the face of the Master, Christification of the human soul or body of conscious will. Sixth, Christification of the spiritual soul, buddhi, great cosmic events in the Buddhic consciousness which, unfortunately, did not remain written in the 4 Gospels. Occurrences of the cosmic drama intimately related to certain facts of other planets of the solar system. Seventh, the Master is crucified and surrenders his spirit to the Father amidst lightning, thunder, and earthquakes. The woman always seals the sepulchre with a great stone, the philosophical stone, symbolizing sex. The battle against Satan was terrible. To summarize, these are the 7 degrees of the Weor.Gnostic initiation. Enormous volumes can be written about each one of these 7 degrees. The Christ, the Lord, will always be born within the humble individual stable of any prepared initiate. The Lord's mother has been, is, and always will be Divine Mother Kundalini, the igneous serpent of our magical powers. The kings of intelligence, the 3 wise men, the true geniuses, these will always recognize the Lord and come to adore him. The child will always face great dangers. Herods, the world, and the tenebrous will always want to kill him. Baptism in the Jordan of existence is always indispensable. The waters of life cleanse, transform, and baptize. After the transfiguration, he interprets the law of Moses with supreme intelligence, teaching people and showing in his work all the marvelous zeal of an Eli as the Lord will come to us, walking on the rough waves of the sea of life. The intimus Lord will always establish order in our minds and return the lost light to our eyes. The interior Lord will always multiply the bread of the Eucharist, which is food and strength to our souls. The Adorable One, incarnated in the initiate, will preach on the streets of the great Jerusalem of the world, delivering to humanity the message of the new era, and his face, crowned with thorns, time after time, will remain engraved forever on the shroud of Veronica. In the consciousness of the initiate, great cosmic events will always occur, and in the midst of lightning and great earthquakes of the soul, the Lord will always surrender his spirit to the Father, exclaiming, "My Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit." After the body has been lowered into the sepulchre, the resurrection will always be repeated in 3½ days. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 58. The solar myth has two aspects. The first represents the cosmic activity of the second, logos at the dawn of each new world born from the womb of the Great Mother. The second aspect is a summary of the life of every holy individual who becomes an incarnation of the second logos, the cosmic Christ. The hem of the solar myth has always been represented at all times as a God-man, and his life has developed and unfolded according to the course of the sun, which is the cosmic vehicle of the solar logos. In the past, in ancient times, the birth of Mithras was always celebrated with great rejoicing during the winter solstice. In the ancient Egypt of the pharaohs, Horns, divine spirit, son of Isis and Osiris, was also born at the winter solstice. Nobody knows the exact date when Jesus of Nazareth was born. There are 136 various dates assigned to his birth. Gnostic initiates decided, with great wisdom, to fix the date of Jesus' birth at December 24th, 12 midnight, that is to say, the first minutes of December 25th. In other solar myths, the divine Savior, the intimus Christ of every holy individual, is always born from the womb of the Immaculate Virgin, the Divine Mother Kundalini. This reminds us of the child sun, on December 24th or 25th, coming to life, advancing, walking towards the north at the same time as the constellation of Virgo, the Immaculate Virgin shines resplendent at its zenith. The sun, the cosmic Christ, whether in the cosmos or in man, is always born of the Virgin Cosmic Mother. Buddha was born of a virgin, Mayadevi, in accordance with the cosmic drama, wisely understood by Chinese initiates. The death and resurrection of the Lord at the spring equinox is as widely known as his birth during the winter solstice. At such a time, Osiris died in the arms of Typhoon, and he is portrayed with arms extended as though crucified. At that time each year, in Babylon and Syria, they wept for the death of Tammuz. At the spring equinox, there were sacred laments and they cried for Adonis in Greece as well as in Syria. In Persia, the death of Mithras was mourned at the same time, the spring equinox. In all mystery schools, the whole course of the sun, from its birth to its death and resurrection, was represented dramatically. The initiate organized his life according to the solar drama and became, in fact, a solar individual. The Gnostic initiation is for real men, not for women. No woman can ever obtain the Gnostic initiation. The highest grade that a woman can achieve is that of celestial virgin, corresponding to the level of Buddha. When a woman wishes to achieve the Gnostic initiation, she must disincarnate and reincarnate in a male body. In the valley of the Nile in Egypt, the great being called Mary, the mother of Jesus, has now reincarnated in a male body. H.P. Blavatsky, the wise theosophist author of The Secret Doctrine, is preparing to reincarnate in a male body because she wants to attain the Gnostic initiation. What we are saying should not disenchant women. Every woman who works in the fiery forge of Vulcan, every woman who works in the ninth sphere, can build her solar bodies and transform herself into a living Buddha, into a virgin of nirvana with power over fire, air, water, and earth. The Gnostic initiation is something else. It is only for real men, but any virgin of nirvana can reincarnate in a male body in order to achieve the Gnostic initiation. Buddha's necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 59. Every time that the solar logos has to come into the world to initiate a new era, he incarnates in a man adequately prepared for the Gnostic initiation. There are 12 saviors, that is, 12 avatars, which correspond to the 12 zodiacal signs. The mission of each avatar is to initiate a new epoch of activity corresponding to the sign into which humanity is entering. Aries, Taurus, etc., had their particular avatars. There exist 12 saviors through whom the living Christ expresses himself. The incarnation of the solar logos in the stable of the world is a grand cosmic event. Just as in each nascent world, the incarnated Christ must make his way into the terrible vortex of the untamed forest surrounded by all kinds of dangers, so also the golden child of sexual alchemy, the intimus Christ, born in every individual, must clear his way, must grow and develop among the stable animals of desire, surrounded by all kinds of dangers and adversities. In the beginning, unfortunately, the initiate has not yet dissolved the animals of his interior stable are alive. The initiate has not yet achieved perfection, even though he may be a Buddha, and the golden child must grow and develop in the midst of all these adversities. In the worlds which surge into existence, the Christ unfolds, is crucified, dies, and resurrects in the depths of everything created so that all creatures may have life and have it abundantly. In the initiate who attains the Weor.Gnostic initiation, the Christ must be born, grow, die, and resurrect in order to work with great intensity in the great work of the Father. When Jesus Christ resurrected from among the dead, the sacred scriptures say he spent 11 years speaking with his disciples, teaching them the 24 mysteries from which are born the 12 saviors of the world. Buddha's Necklace. Samael Aun Weor. 60. Final Salutation. Beloved, I have said in this 1966-67 Christmas message all that I had to say. Study it intensely, not just reading it once as one reads newspapers. This message is for you to study throughout your entire life and to understand profoundly in all levels of the mind. Do not be like fickle people who are in one school today and in another school tomorrow, who lose time miserably reading and theorizing but achieve absolutely nothing. Do not be like those who profane the mysteries, who study them today and make a joke of all these things tomorrow. Study and work. This message is for your inner self-realization. Remember that we are giving the second part of the Gnostic teachings. All the summum of our esoteric Christic doctrine will be condensed in each year's Christmas message. Previously, the message was a simple pamphlet, but now you will receive the message in book form every year. Gnostic lumigels must become meditation halls. Meditation must be practiced in groups, in accordance with the lesson in chapter 18 of this Christmas message. Remember, beloved, that by means of the story about Chinese master Wu Wen we are teaching a practical technique for meditation. Beloved, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year 1967. May the star of Bethlehem shine in your path, may peace be in your hearts, and may happiness be in your homes. Samael Aun Weor.